you like it, but you just don't get it. He knows a little about the feels that I'm about to light, just how you want it. Standing waiting by the field, I better bring up the gun, I better bring up the thunder, stop
500 horsepower pushing me into my seat, reaching 250 kilometers an hour in a few seconds, while braking just as quick. Driving on some of the most famous tracks in the world. Driving bumper to bumper against great players from all around the world. Fighting for the ultimate prize. Being the real racer. The Real Race 2021. Sign up now.
Sunday night racing action coming your way with the Lamborghini The Real Race Round 2 in Laguna Seca. My name is Rennie Butler, and alongside the team, I'll bring you all the action of the top players from all around the world going for the big drive, for the big chance in a real-world Lamborghini. As I said, it's Round 2. We're visiting the US for the Laguna racetrack, but there have been a round already with plenty of action in Monza. And before we dive into what will happen at Laguna Seca, let's have a look back at how Monza was.
Drops, the flag is away, and here we go.
Rahman, look at that. That was a great start. He's already alongside Juan, and he might even be able to take that under braking.
Further down the field, oh my word, that was a spearhead.
Yeah, that was the Honzik in the middle. Let's see what happened.
Went off at
Let's go too. That's Crossland going off.
It will be Jordan Sherritt, clean as you like, but look at Nicholas Huben challenging out already on Kadlasek there, looking to try and change his podium position, but nicely defended. This is looking at the, big error, nearly collected the second car as well. Great, quick aversion. Yeah, fantastic overtakes throughout. Tinko van der Velde certainly putting on a bit of a masterclass. That was the real problem. So he actually got nudged. So it wasn't his fault. He didn't lose it in the Lesbo. And then, of course, that was the chaos that ensued. You know, it's a pretty tight. There's no runoffs because you just don't expect cars to crash there, right?
Iconic Monza proved a challenge for drivers out there. We had incredible races, 2 per region, so there was plenty of racing action for everyone to witness. If you missed Monza, just head back into the VOD section, have a look at that once again to figure out who were the best drivers after round 1 before we now dive into round 2. If you listened carefully to the video, we realized that wasn't really just my voice, right? I was joined, and I'm once again joined by Lee Smith, bringing all the commentary passion, I would say, that is available for a race event. Hey, Lee.
There we go. Get the hashtag passion in there. That's what I like to see. Yes, welcome to my lounge. We're obviously doing this from home now. We're not in the studios in Berlin. Obviously, you know, things happen in the world. But we are still going to be bringing you the racing action, and that's what we're going to try and do. Before we get into it, though, I want to obviously break it down for you guys at home. Obviously, some of you did join us for Monza and may well be joining us for today at Laguna Seca, or maybe want to join further down the field. Obviously, you guys, the qualification is open to everyone. It's not just an invite. There's not just a set 20 drivers. It is open to absolutely everyone. Keep your eyes peeled on the socials, on the website. You will have a setup there. You will have even a cat on your screens, maybe. There we go. But let's get into the qualification. So basically, it is wide open. Obviously, when the next track comes up, when the dates come out, it's usually about a week in advance. You basically got to be hot lapping. Hot lap, hot lap, hot lap. Be you in the Asia region, Europe region, or the Americas, you can try and get involved in this. There is tournaments happening on all of the tracks. And of course, if you are in the top 40, you will then be invited to race once again in the single player mode, and of course we will find once again the fastest on the track. Doing those hot laps, the top 20 then will be invited through to join into today's race. Obviously, next week we'll have the next race in 2 weeks' time. Keep your eyes peeled, as I say, on the website. It's all the information is on there. If you want it, get it. If you're wondering where it is, esports.lamborghini. Get on there /race. You know, you can have a look at exactly what's going on. And you too could be involved in the main race right here on the screens. What's it all about? Well, there is prizes up for grabs, Rene. There's prizes for this, of course. Obviously, after all the 10 races are done and dusted, the top driver from each region will be invited to go along to Lamborghini's headquarters in Agata Bolognese, and you will be joining not only obviously the fantastic Lamborghinis that are going to be there, you're going to be meeting the Lamborghini race team department, everything that's involved in it, and then you're going to get to drive the Lamborghini Huracan GT3s. It's going to be absolutely fantastic, no doubt about it. Exclusive, experience that really money can't buy. And we'll be doing this for the top driver from the Asia regions, from the European regions, and of course the Americas. Incredible stuff. And additionally, everybody that signs up will be putting down a lap time. You will get a chance to win yourself a Lamborghini headset.
Yeah, lots to go for everyone out there, so make sure to get involved in Lamborghini The Real Race. Before we get involved with racing action, I would say let's listen to the CEO of Lamborghini, Stefan Winkelmann, and what he has to say about the project.
Pushing the boundaries has been within the DNA of Lamborghini from the very first day. And we all agree that competition helps every company and every individual to never rest and always keep pushing. Of course, this is also true for racing competitions, be it out on the track or in a simulator. In fact, sim racing has experienced a huge growth over the last years, even accelerated during this last year of travel restrictions and other limitations due to COVID. Lamborghini is happy to be a supporter and an important driver of this trend. We share the passion of the sim racing community. With The Real Race, we are now increasing the competition to 3 regions. This is a great development, underlining Lamborghini's commitment and providing even more racers a chance to engage with our brand. On the company's journey, the development of digital solutions is crucial. Making racing accessible for everyone is close to our heart. In the end, we all in this incredible car universe are in it for the love of cars and the passion for performance. We'd like to wish the best luck to the drivers. We are all looking forward to seeing who will win the championship and become Lamborghini official sim driver in 2022. And now, I invite you to play, to compete, to be entertained by Lamborghini.
Back to Usley, and with that also it means back to more racing action here at Laguna Seca. I said it already, we're actually traveling to the US for this race, and what more could we ask for in terms of iconic scenery for round 2, right?
Absolutely, it's all about the corkscrew, isn't it? I mean, there's no bones about this. We know where we're going with this. It's going to be fantastic racing, but we've had some race winners, of course, across. We are only covering the NALA today, which is the North America, Latin America. So let's have a look at what's been happening around the world, Rene. We can only be in one place at one time.
That is true. The races in the APAC area and the one the EMEA finished already in APAC. One of the drivers that you're probably familiar with if you watched the first round was Gary Huang, 21 years old from China. Once again, he showed that he can be among the top guys here in the real race.
Absolutely smashed it at Monza, no doubt about it. Doesn't look like he may well have done as well this time, because Ivan Shimanensky obviously was hot on his heels. In fact, the 2 Russian drivers really did very well, obviously, at Monza, and they've clearly done very well once again at Laguna Seca. We expected just as much, if you're not mistaken. Obviously, Ogrodnikov was the man that did lead for a large portion of the Monza race, so it's not too surprising now to see him in that first place. He was always putting pressure onto Gary Huang, and it looks like he's absolutely delivered here earlier on today. Laguna Seca.
Yeah, he was the man to beat when we visited Monza, and it seems like Laguna Seca was just right up his alley, I would say, in terms of what he likes in a track. And these are the overall standings. So this is after round 2, after Laguna Seca is done in the APEC area, with Ogorodnikov being first, 86 points. That's already quite a gap to Shemetinsky with 68, while Wang with 66 is right behind them. So that area, the entire region there, I think they will be hot for all of the remaining races.
Yeah, it looks like Andika Ramamalan has also obviously made up ground. We saw him going off in the main race last time out at Monza, so it's great to see him back on the board. Terry Rayton also putting in a great performance there, now 5th in the table. Certainly very possible to sort of rein those points back a little bit for the APAC region. Of course, it is over 10 races, so it's a long way to go within this championship, of course. But as I say, it's completely open to everyone. You are quite possible to get involved and get yourself into that top 10.
And obviously, besides the APEC region, we had EMEA happening as well, with another, I would say, ton of top drivers, actually. Not just the 20 that made it into the actual race. So many more talented drivers that have been heading up for Laguna Seca and having a shot, basically, at trying to score points in round 2. One of these drivers that did very well is a driver that we're familiar with from the Monza race as well. That was Kevin Ciclari, 28 years old, and from Italy. Kind of fitting, I would say, in terms of Lamborghini. He wouldn't really travel that far, I would say, in case he makes it, but currently he's only 3rd, so there's still a tough challenge ahead for him.
Absolutely. Kevin Ciclari, we saw him having a pretty tough race at Monza, in fairness. Kadlecik obviously was hot on the heels all the way through, 2nd place. Actually led the field for quite a while at Monza as well, but wasn't able to convert it into win. But the young 17-year-old certainly in a commanding position here in 2nd place at the moment. But it's all about the man at the front of the field, isn't it? We know who it is. You all know who it's going to be, because it's the man that has dominated the EMEA region for a long time. It is Jordan Sherritt. The South Africa's been doing very, very well here. Currently sitting in 1st place. Had a brilliant performance at Monza and has gone on to do once again the same here at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, he's one of those ice-cold drivers that can deliver in whatever circumstances and in whatever pressure he is, and he did very, very well. Interesting, though, is the age difference that we have, right? Ciclari, 28 years old, Kadlecik was 17, and then Sherritt, 22. It just shows what sim racing is all about, right? You can take part no matter how old you are, no matter what you're doing. Even you could, Lee, even you could. No matter the age. But there are also some names that we're familiar with in the overall standings after 2 races. Although we have to say, Jordan Sherritt with 93 points, definitely a very strong performance in terms of points, considering what we just saw at the lead for the APEC region.
Yeah, just about the perfect start for him, really. Tinko van der Velde, we saw obviously putting in a great performance at Monza. Had a crash in the first sprint, of course, and then in the main race too, certainly did very well. So very interested to see how he'll do. Obviously, as the season progresses, definitely a young talent worth keeping your eyes out for. But that's what's happened. That's what's happened around the world, and it leads us up to where we are today, which is obviously the North American, Latin American region.
Yeah, we quickly should talk about what's in every driver's mind right now in round 2, and that is probably what will happen if they get the win in their region, because then they will sit down behind the steering wheel of this beast.
This is good. Positive lap for driver change. Copy, copy out.
the Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. That is definitely a car I would love to race on, and I'm pretty sure that all the drivers out there have that in their mind, and hopefully they still have enough capacity basically to concentrate on what else is happening, because the Laguna Seca race won't be an easy one, Lee.
No, absolutely it will not. You know, the corkscrew can cause many a mistake, especially if someone's trying to put a move on you at the same time. It can get very messy there. We're certainly hoping we see clean racing. It was pretty clean at Monza, which is obviously what we always love to see. Clean, solid overtakes. That's what we're looking for towards. But, you know, it is... the fact is you have to go the corkscrew every single lap. And there's always that little element that it could catch you out. I don't expect to see drivers of this talent, of this class, caught out by it. But you never know. Someone might make a mistake there, and suddenly it opens the door for overtakes, all sorts of possibilities, because you can go all over the place if you come off there.
I kind of feel like that corkscrew is always hard, because sometimes you go for an overtake, you think you're in a great position, but you're still slower accelerating out because there's not many lines to choose from where you get maximum traction. On the other hand, turn 1 and 2, you know, these long-running left-handers, double apex, absolutely love that, because there is a chance for you to go 2 wide, 3 wide, 4 wide if you have to in lap 1 basically, and everything can happen if you really nail that one on a quick lap.
Yeah, we're going to see people throwing it into the hairpin. That's where the big moves probably will make it. And as you say, you know, it may well follow on all the way through until you get up to the Rahal Straight, and you know there's a long way to basically be side by side. We could see some serious side by side racing. This is of course the track, Laguna Seca, sped up. This is how fast you're going to be driving.
That's my normal pace, I would say. When I'm underway, and it is luckily not that quick in reality, because we want to really enjoy every single of these corners. This beautiful blue sky, if that will be race conditions, that's another thing, because we're obviously running with dynamic weather, so everything could happen. But this is a really nice flowing track, especially after the corkscrew. You come down the hill, kind of like in Mini Bathurst, I would say. Like first half of the track, you go up the hill, and then after the corkscrew, you come down the hill again. There's this 100... No, it's actually 90 degrees left-hander right after the corkscrew. That you really have to use the banking and all that. That's stuff that drivers have to be aware of. It's not just finding the right line. It's when you go for an overtake, make sure that you really hit the banking at an angle that helps your car to maintain speed throughout the lap.
Yeah, definitely going to be a tough track that will challenge them. Let's talk about what happened last time out at Monza, of course, for NALA. Easy for me to say. I try and wrap my mouth around that one, of course. It was all about Moreira getting some great results there. Now, if you do cast your mind back, obviously, to when we were in Monza, there was a young American called William Hendrickson, a.k.a. Billy, we're going with in this one. But he's an 18-year-old. And unfortunately for him, he just had connection issues on the day. He had actually qualified in 3rd place on that day. And we're going to see him once again today. Seems to be the fastest driver in Laguna Seca. So these standings right here could be blown out of the water, because I do feel like the Americas region is certainly one that could deliver.
It definitely is. I mean, we saw the Oliveira Rodriguez, for example, really putting on a show in Monza previously, although he only came out with 26 points. But maybe that could be different for him. Could be different now for him in Laguna Seca. Moreira, obviously, with being in the lead, 50 points, also the lowest scoring, if I remember correctly, in the region. Let me see, it was 88 now in 8-pack, and I think we had been over 90 in EMEA. So it is a strongly contested region. It's not an easy race in Laguna Seca. It's not, I would say, even one of the typical tracks that they might run a lot in other events.
And just to obviously put across how open this can be in terms of qualifications, Strafaldi, who is second on that table, has not qualified for today's race. He is not here. So 36 points gained in Monza. You know, that's going to get surpassed now, because obviously here we are at Laguna Seca, and there's a real chance for people to gain on that. So the fact is, some drivers, they're stronger on other tracks than they are. Obviously, Monza's a very well-known track. Laguna Seca is as well, no doubt about it. But it's a very different style of track to drive.
It definitely is, and I love that about the championship we do here, right? Like, we visit so many different places, we visit so many different styles that you need to actually be up front. Obviously, it's all in the same car. We're all in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3, so that set everyone at the perfect base, basically, to get going here. But before we dive into the race, it will be a short break, and then we will be right back with all the action from Laguna Seca and Lamborghini, the real race. back for round 2 of the Lamborghini The Real Race here, Laguna Seca, US. That is the track for today. My name is Rennie Butler alongside Lee Smith, bringing you all the action right and live from the track. And in this case, Lee, in the actual, I want to say APAC region, but that's wrong. Which one is it?
No, we're not in Asia and Pacific region. No, we're not. We are in Americas. So
I wanted
America,
to hear you saying
Latin
it
America.
again.
Well, the NALA, or whatever they like to tag it as. They love their tags. It's obviously EMEA, APAC, and NALA. But yes, trying to encompass as much as we can. Basically, we're going to have a field pretty much full of obviously American drivers, a lot of Brazilian drivers out there as well. It was the lion's share of Brazilian drivers last time out at Monza. I would say we probably got a little bit more US drivers this time around, as we've hit obviously a popular US track.
Definitely. I checked the list previously. There are quite a few drivers this time that come from the US, but still, I would say the majority is from Brazil, and I absolutely love that. It is a country that is so strong, and once again, I bring that word in, passionate about racing, about sim racing, and that's great to see. And I really want to, find out how they will perform here on US soil.
I'm just counting how many there are. There's nine Brazilian drivers and
out of 20, that's a lot.
And 7 US drivers. Yeah, so half the field almost is Brazilian. I'm going to assume PR is Peru, so a Peruvian driver in there, which is great to see. Also a single Canadian in there as well. Hopefully, obviously, everybody has been able to join us. Obviously, of those 20, obviously, qualifications happens within the week. So it would be a shame if nobody was able to join us for the final race here. But it is, of course, today we're at Laguna Seca. If you want to get involved in the coming weeks, 25th of July will be the next race. That will be at Suzuka, and it'll be an endurance race. The reason I mention that is obviously the qualifications happening, and we are doing sprint races today. So it does mean we're going to have a 45-minute first race and followed by a hour-long second race. So 2 sprint races, a forced pit stop, so they must stop once at some point, obviously up to the driver as and when the pits open.
That is it, and we obviously have the session open, so let's quickly make sure that we're actually on board with everything, and then we are on board with the session and ready to go and see racing action. And it seems like something very unlikely just happened, and that is it's raining in Laguna Seca.
It is absolutely raining, and it's hammering it down. This is some pretty heavy rain here. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, William Hendrickson starting out on the pole position. He was qualified 3rd place at Monza, but had connection issues on the day. You know what? And credit to him. He realized he had problems, immediately pulled to the side, got out the way, and says, "You know what? I'm going to be a nuisance in this race. I don't want to get in the way," and immediately kind of disqualified himself based on his known connection issues.
Yeah, we should quickly go through at least the top contenders here. Hendrickson has pole position in Laguna Seca, followed by De Oliveira Rodriguez, one of the strong drivers in Monza. Then Leo, then Karnin. I think that's a new driver, actually, the number 65 that we'll see here. Filipe Moreira. Moreira is the current leader of the overall points. So it will be very interesting to see how he can overcome that, starting only from 6th.
Yeah, we'll see where they can go. Obviously, I was giggling to myself because it like puts you halfway around the track when it starts you for the roll in. It literally dumped them on the corkscrew. So I was kind of like, oh, that's just about the worst place to try and go side by side at the moment. But the field did manage to get round there, and here we go. We're about to approach the line, about to get things underway. You can see already Canning trying to get right up the back of the Oliveira, but it's going to be all about William Hendrickson. He's going to have to drop it on the line, and away we go. Green, green, green given, and we are live and racing. Going straight into the hairpin. This is where the action will happen all through the race, but especially here. Leo getting on the inside, and it's going to be a great start for the man that started out in 3rd place. It's already up into 2nd. De Oliveira's losing places.
Yeah, De Oliveira Rodriguez immediately being taken down by Leo here, and it seems like Carlin right behind him. There is a spin, though. We saw that someone going sideways. That might even be Diego Cargin, I think so. No, he's still in third. So one of the drivers dropped down a bit further. I think that was then Leo, who's now in 8th all of a sudden. And Hendrickson kind of runs away with it, for now at least, because he had a clean start. He was saying there was a ton of carnage behind him, or at least like small touches. Although, for a rain start, I would say we're pretty good right now.
Absolutely, yeah, you know, it was Leo definitely obviously caught something back there. It looked like it may have been Moreira that was tied up with it. He was obviously the current points leader down in 5th place as it stands, but Leo did have a great start, but unfortunately down in 8th. We'll see whether he can make that up here in this sprint race. As we say, it is just a 45-minute sprint race for now, and then we go straight into a second hour-long session. They have to make themselves that one pit stop as well, which is why you see the ones on the tower on the left-hand side of your screen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that everyone expected a dry race. I mean, if I go to Laguna Seca, I would expect the perfect blue horizon, but today it isn't. And we see Fidel Moreira currently not really in a position yet to make the move on Borges. But he wants to get closer. He needs every single point if he wants to stay in the lead of the overall scores. And I think a bit further down the line, there was an overtaking maneuver. Could be around Vini Oliveira. Let's see what he's currently up to. He got Negrini right behind, and then there's Flemge in the green Lamborghini a bit further down.
So this is obviously looking back at the start of the first lap. So where did he get punted from? It was from behind. It wasn't. So Leo actually got wiped out by De Oliveira getting punted from behind. So Leo, absolutely nothing he could do about it. It did look like it was possibly Carney. I couldn't make out who it was that actually did the punting in the end. Obviously, Billy Hendrickson obviously well away at the front there. William was, so I didn't see who it was, but it was definitely De Oliveira that got hit from behind. He got launched into Leo, and Leo then got launched off the track, so nothing he could do about that.
Gabriel Felipe closing the gap to Moreira now, but as soon as he will make a move, there is De Oliveira right behind him, who wants to take that position back. We can see, once again, that's what I love GT3 racing, right? Like, there is a bit of touching, that's fine. You know, Robin is racing, we know that, but you have to be super smooth and really clean if you want to be quick. Look at under braking, how close he gets to Moreira, but now accelerating out of the last turn. It might be that De Oliveira on the background has a better exit. Not enough yet, though, to dive into turn 1.
Yeah, Moreira's getting close, but not close enough on Borges as well, as you say. All sort of stacked back there, Felipe, as you mentioned. This is kind of like the field that's backing up, right? Borges is slowly losing this front 3 pack, and he's the man that everybody is out to get. But don't discount Borges. He's obviously done very well. I think he's 5th in the standings, if I'm not mistaken, from the previous race at Monza. So definitely delivered a race there, but there is a queue of traffic. I'm seeing it from 5th all the way down to 10th place. They're definitely stacking up behind him. Leo, who obviously qualified in 3rd place, had himself in 2nd. He will want to get past these. I just wonder if he took too much damage from that punt. It didn't look like it was a great deal of damage because he just collected it in the gravel.
Yeah, he should have been fine. I mean, there will be a bit of damage, but hopefully not that much aero damage that really impacts his race on a negative away. We just saw them dropping down the corkscrew, and the rain looks quite interesting, I have to say. And it's definitely not up to Joao Borges right now, keeping that group together, because we can see him spreading a small gap, at least, to Felipe Moreira as of right now. But then behind Moreira, there's everyone else just here in the braking zone for the last turn. He seems to always lose a bit of pace, and giving a chance for everyone else to catch up. Also, while we are catching up, look at 2nd and 3rd, De Oliveira Rodriguez and Diego Cargin, with Cargin now being a lot closer to Oliveira Rodriguez than he had been before. And as soon as these two start fighting, that will be perfect for Hendrickson here in the first race.
Yeah, Hendrickson's having his own race right now, which is something we've seen at Monza. He's definitely away, not really being threatened by De Oliveira Rodriguez, who we know can definitely put the pace in, and that's what he's going to be looking to do. Obviously, the current points leader But Kargin is absolutely putting some serious pressure on it now, getting closer and closer. So maybe a small mistake from De Oliveira. Obviously, you can see the gap between Kargin and Borges is pretty much staying around about that just under 2-second margin while everybody closes the door on him. It's Kargin actually just made a small error there, fell away a little bit, and De Oliveira will get himself the lead as they go down the corkscrew.
Yeah, it seems like he will not be able to catch up this lap, but look at that, and all the action at corkscrew. It always looks like everyone bunching up around Daniel De Oliveira, currently in 7th position behind Philippe and in front of Leo. Leo obviously with that start and the small mistake that happened, dropped down the grid quite a bit. Now has to fight his way back, and that isn't easy. Everyone in the same car, everyone on the same skill level, I would say. I mean, even with Henriksen leading right now, this is a very, very competitive field. There's a car turning around in the background. Who was that? Losing traction out of the last corner, and I think that was Negrini.
Yeah, Negrini's gone, yeah. Been punted down, didn't see exactly what happened, but I can see him tumbling down the field, so definitely Negrini that's had some sort of off that's caused a problem there, and obviously that's shook the field up a little bit, because look at Moreira all over Borges now.
Yeah, it's like Negrini really fell far behind. Now look at that, that's Miguel in 15th position, that's quite far ahead already for him, so will not be happy about what just happened. William Hendrickson, that's our current leader, the car that has absolutely no one in the front windshield, because he's quite on his own with nearly 4 seconds of a gap already.
Yep, this is what he needs, though. Obviously, if you think about Moreira, current points leader, 50 points for him from Monza, down in 5th place. And for William Hendrickson, who did miss out on that race due to his connection issues, he's going to be loving the fact that he's leading this right now. Let's have a look, though, at what just happened. I think this is going to be the Negrini replay we may get a look at here to see what happened further down. Yeah, just into the gravel. Didn't really get it much. Just essentially looked like he was just running too close and just outbraked himself.
Now, we always know this, it's the effect of dirty air, right? You don't get all the wind normally on your wing. That was Negrini, by the way, spinning last corner. That happened last lap.
Just span on his own, yeah.
Yeah, that was... It was missing traction. He probably was playing around with traction control quite a bit. And you know, in wet conditions, you obviously run a higher traction control, at least most drivers do, to be a bit more on the safe side. And maybe he was still running the dry settings.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, whether he had the wrong brake settings on, maybe. Obviously, you've got to make sure you've got collected the right brakes as well going into the wet race. But we'll see whether he's made a mistake there. Somebody that's not making a mistake is Leo. Leo all over the back of Felipe as well now. So he's going to try and keep the pressure on. Moreira continuing to chase on Borges as well. He definitely wants to get Borges. He knows he's holding him up at the moment. But Leo with... what was a disastrous start, what started as a dream start went into a disastrous start as he got punted off the track there. Nothing he could do about that, so trying to do what he can to try and make it up with De Oliveira very much on him. So he's got to be careful if he makes this move on Felipe, when and where he does it, because he could lose a position to De Oliveira.
Oh, look at that, how close De Oliveira gets once again in the corkscrew, but then you have to basically take out even more speed because you're afraid of running in the rear of Leo, and then it drops him even further. Rain seems to be quite consistent as of right now. It's not the end of the world yet in terms of how much water is coming down, but it's still raining, and it's not easy, as we can see, for Daniel De Oliveira, running a bit over the braking point there and missing the turn in for the last corner.
Absolutely, Leo. We were talking about, where's the real overtaking opportunities? Where's the mistakes? Obviously, coming through the hairpin, that's a chance. Generally, most people will be taking a similar line, though, around the hairpin. Yes, it can kind of put you in side-by-side racing through turns 3 and 4. You maybe you got to keep the pressure on. Somebody I just caught a glimpse of was Moreira, actually, keeping the pressure onto Borges as well. So we've got to keep our eye on these couple of battles going on at the moment. I did just see Camilo, I think it was, that went down the field a little bit there. So he's down in 12th right now, so don't know what's happened there. But at the moment, in terms of points, how this is playing out, it's perfect for William Hendrickson in the lead. 6 laps in, absolutely smashing it. Almost, 4.5 seconds ahead of De Oliveira. This is the perfect race for him already.
Yeah, he had that clean start. Everyone else was busy fighting, and obviously it's a lot harder to also get your braking point right. If you have a car in front of you, you're testing out the track basically, right? It's like, what's with water on it? How late can I be on the braking? Hendrickson can do that, and maybe running a bit wide onto the apex without running into someone, without ruining his race. So that might give him the upper hand, especially now at the start of the race, where it's just all about feeling out the track and trying to get your pace together once again.
Absolutely. So Moreira's the only one that's really putting the pressure on. Even now, he's been, I think, respectful with Borges ahead of him. Borges obviously 6th place, 16 points from Monza. Moreira currently obviously nursing the fact that he had those 50 points from the first race. He wants to make sure he scores, because let's not forget, you know, you're going to be carrying through into the next sprint race as well from your points, so from your position. So I would be very skeptical of a crazy move, if you get what I mean, because obviously you don't want to punt yourself off, you don't want to make a mistake, and then you absolutely ruin your next race effectively. So we're going to be looking at what lap times obviously as they go, see how quick they can be, and then obviously the things will start opening up as the pit stops go. Now the question is, will it be the over, will it be the under? We saw it very different between Monza. There was very much a pit window that worked. Some took it longer and sort of benefited from it from that way, and then some took it too long and it backfired horribly.
Yeah, it's never easy to get that balance right. You want to make the best out of your car and how it currently feels for you. It also depends on how you ran the tires, obviously, in the first stint. These are now wet tires, so completely different to the slicks that we normally see them using. So I just wonder if there is now a bigger gap in terms of experience, right? Because even now that rain was introduced to sim racing quite a while ago nowadays, right? Like, I still remember the years where there was absolutely no title out there that was featuring rain. But nowadays it's pretty much standard. But there are not many races that actually use rain or dynamic weather. So I wonder if that is the big difference here. We're looking at a replay. That was... Who was that going white there? It's once again the small king, the left-hander
number
king
66
going up
is
to.
Moisen, so I can tell you that. Moisen currently running in 9th place, so I assume it was Woodrow that maybe ran wide, or maybe that was Camilo actually, because I did notice he dropped down a bit, so it was probably Camilo that ran wide back there. Still watching Moreira, I am, keeping my eyes on his race. He's had a little look at Borges on the inside of the last hairpin run, obviously going through the corkscrew right now, so we'll see whether he's going to maybe see the option. He definitely started to make Borges defend, let's put it that way. As he goes into the corners, he's keeping him guessing now, so looking to take that opportunity, looking to take that moment as they come in around the final corner onto the straight.
Yeah, the best thing that Fidel Moreira could do now is trying to force Borges to use a different line and maybe just figure out if he is not as experienced with all the other lines in the wet, because all of that changes. Nothing is the same anymore. And we see that here on the braking really late by Moreira coming in there. That was a great shot into the first two corners, but on the exit it seems like Borges, a bit more traction, a bit more power out of the left-handed, and so Moreira still not in attack distance, but he could be fairly soon.
Yeah, certainly keeping him in check, no doubt about it. Any mistakes and he's going to be past him. We'll see whether the track decides to weather in a little bit as the rain is coming down, still pretty darn heavy, so not real too much to worry about that. This is a replay we're going to get a check on your screen here. This is from car number 64, so it's Miguel further down the field, currently running in 13th place. That is going to be a pretty standard overtake overall, just before the corkscrew. Oh, he's completely done it. I was going to say, he's going in a bit hot into the corkscrew. I was just thinking, as I was watching it, I was thinking, that seems to... Yeah, he's overshot it. I was thinking he's coming in way too hot.
Yeah, that didn't really work well for him, and there's another blue card dropping out. And right in front of Miguel, that was Moisan.
Moisan, yeah.
Alexis Moisan, the number 66 car here. That went a bit wide. It seems like really that let's say normally in the dry... Oh, yep. It doesn't get better than that, right? Corkscrew, that's the right way. Moisan, and then he has Castro Beltran right behind him already, so he's getting under pressure once again. But that left kink up to corkscrew, it is one of those corners where you need to be really, really brave, right? You want to basically just lift it a bit, go through there. It seems to be way harder now in the rain, and that doesn't make it easy also for Alexis Moisan here to get through. And we saw Gonzalez, I think, who just went into pits, and I think that's the same for Castro Beltran, who currently is in the pits. Yeah, there we go.
I mean, it's the difference, right? Now that the pit window's open, we'll see how things do change up for them. Keep your eyes on that. Obviously, anyone's got the one in there. When he goes green, it means they have had that pit. But it's the difference, right, from basically being a hot lap specialist to applying the racecraft. You've got to be consistent with your laps. You've got to keep delivering. Obviously, sometimes you are going to be under the pressure of another driver looking to get past you as well. So really very different racing. Obviously, while the qualification is all about this hot lapping and, you know, it's the best form that we can do to get the very quickest drivers, sometimes that does not transition well into racing. You can make just one mistake, or, you know, consistency is such a hard thing to do in racing, to be consistently fast. Because you have to, your focus has to be absolutely lasered in every lap, and especially when it's raining like this.
Definitely, and you drop off over time as well. I mean, this is the first race, 45 minutes, one pit stop, but there's a second right after. There's just a small break between these races, and then they have to be fully focused once again for the upcoming second race. And I think that's where first one we will see that will get a bit harder.
A penalty for De Oliveira, so that's got to be track cutting maybe in there, or what's going on? 10-second penalty just applied. Actually, that was 2. He was at 5 and now it's 10. Oh, Moreira just made a mistake as well. Moreira just off the track slightly. That has brought Felipe right on his backside. So an error from Moreira was actually a little bit of drift from Borges. So we'll probably start seeing people pitting now, because as soon as he starts making an error like that, he's like, right, okay, quick throw in the pits. Meant it all along.
Get a new set of tires, obviously get them in the right pressure window to make them work. But you're right now with Moreira having Philippe in the background, Leo also closing the gap there. They get into a fighting group, and now is the question, like, do you want to stay out? Do you want to hang with these guys? Do you fight? Can you actually stay up front, or do you rather pull into the pits? Let's see what he does when he comes around now. We're not even halfway through yet, though, so I think pitting would be a bit too early. And yeah, all of those three here, they stay out. But with De Oliveira Rodriguez now having that 10-second penalty, and that you can see on the tower on the left, bright red, that will be very costly, because only 3.3 seconds after Karnin, another 3 seconds, so he would drop to roughly where Moreira is right now.
Yeah, not ideal. There's no doubt about that. He's going to be disappointed. So, be very interested to see where this cutting is taking place. I'm going to assume it is somewhere around the corkscrew. Maybe he's just took it a little too short. I'm not too sure. There's not that many cutting options in and around this track, because it is a pretty straightforward track. It's not like you're going to gain too much time. Like, for example, I'm following Moreira around at the moment, you know, looking at the options. Obviously, there's not really too many options. It's a pretty wide track. There's big runoffs, you know. There's not that many cutting options. Possibly here, where Moreira is just going through now, which is, I think, turn 7. I would have to just double check my map. I'm pretty sure it's turn 7, just before the corkscrew.
Yeah, it's like if you run wide there a bit, and obviously you've got the AstroTurf, something that I tell my real life drivers every single time. If you see AstroTurf somewhere, it looks amazing in green, yeah? You think you can go there. If it's raining, do not ever get close to that. Really, really slippery.
It's turn 6. Turn 6 is where the where potential cutting. That's it. That was the place I was thinking about. You know, where it could happen. But look how bunched up they though now are. Moreira, Felipe, and Leo. Leo's still down in 7th place. Going to be fuming about that early start, but he's got to put it out of his mind right now and continue the grind effectively. Also, another driver up there that's doing well. Woodrow up in 9th place at the moment. Obviously, currently 11th in points, going himself 10 points before, and running in the top 10 now. So great work for him as we see Negrini coming into the pits.
And Negrini, the next one now that wants to get rid of the mandatory pit stop, might be a bit early though. We get another replay just shortly. 27, and that is the car of Negrini, the one that is pitting currently. Maybe that is the reason for his pit was fighting here. Oh, lost it once again. Yeah, not enough traction coming out there. Slightly overdriving the car in the quick kink. And due to that, lost a lot of time once again. And now he is in the pits. So we'll probably drop a bit further down the list. Although Miguel is 51 seconds behind before that. And there's also 1 lap down. So it seems like there's quite a big gap now between the quickest guys, like this one here, that just passed Negrini, William Hendrickson. So far, we didn't show them that often, and Lee, you know, that's exactly the problem of someone that is really, really quick, consistent, and safe. You normally don't have him on screen that often, so let's give a bit of time to William Hendrickson, but he does a great job so far here in rainy Laguna Seca.
Yeah, Moreira has also pulled himself away from the chasing pack a little bit there, bought himself some time. Leo is all over the back of Felipe going through the hairpin there, so we'll see whether he decides to try and make a move. He's kind of been following him in convoy in suits for a while, but the second Moreira got involved, that's when Leo started to think, okay, I might be able to catch a moment of Felipe off guard. And for Felipe, obviously, he's third place in the points, so he wants to be as safe as he can, just trying to set himself up for a real chance in the next race. That's where he wants to look at making the points. And don't forget, they can all see that. They can all see that penalty over De Oliveira Rodriguez. For him, he's thinking, you know what? 10-second penalty, I just need to blast it. Because actually, there's a pretty big gap still. Further down the field, it's only going to, drop him down to 4th at the moment, obviously 12 seconds behind or so. So that 10-second margin, he's just decided, you know what, I'm just going to blast it, see how much time I can get ahead of these guys, and maybe it's not going to be as bad as I feel.
Yeah, he's just slot right between Borges and Moreira, and that obviously puts a bit of pressure on Moreira in case he is currently checking that, because he is the leader after the Monza race, and if he wants to stay there, then it would be good to score more than De Oliveira Rodriguez, a really, really quick driver, also here in Laguna Seca, as we see currently. And this penalty might be Moreira's chance to at least score more points in race number 1 and get a tiny addition to his gap yet in his championship standings.
I mean, yeah, the bonus for him is obviously on 50 points, currently running in 5th as well. Yes, Hendrickson's running away with it, but he's got 0 points. Hendrickson has 0 points. Strofaldi, 2nd place, 36 points. He's not here either. So Felipe is his closest rival right now, who's behind him. So it's like the perfect situation. Moreira absolutely will be not doing anything crazy. He will just try and drive his own race and make sure that Felipe stays in his rearview mirror.
Yeah, Hendrickson might be furious actually about his internet last time. I mean, he's clearly leading here in Laguna Seca, and I'm absolutely sure that he had a good shot at Monza in terms of leading there as well and scoring big, but didn't happen. That's part. It's basically like the typical, let's say, electronical failures or mechanical failures that can happen in real race as well. While Vinny Oliveira Leo did a small mistake there.
Yeah, he went really wide.
Yeah,
really
that
wide.
threw him back. At least I think the gap is now nearly a second.
Oh, here we go. Pit stops. Here we go. This is it. So Hendrickson, Carnian, and Borges all coming in. There's Felipe coming in as well. Everybody diving in the pits. The window is open. We're just over the halfway margin that they're all looking to do this. De Oliveira's decided to carry on as much as he can. Moreira also, and Leo. A little bit of clean track by Leo, obviously. He's going to be kicking himself that he just made that mistake, because that lost him a lot of time.
Yeah, it's like that was very unfortunate that it happened on that lap, and he was so close already to everyone else, but not enough. And as you said, De Oliveira Rodriguez, he carries on. Might want to spread the gap now because he's aware of those 10 seconds. He wants to make sure that he drops somewhere around 4th, I would say. That's the best that could happen, unless he all of a sudden finds a lot of seconds on the track and might even get onto a podium still.
Absolutely, and here they all come. Look at this. They're all going to be coming out the pits back to back. Carnian, who had himself a pretty hefty lead with Borges and Felipe all coming right out now. We'll keep our eyes on what's going on with the other drivers as well. Obviously, it's going to put Hendrickson down in 8th place right now, but we all know he's going to be the leader when he finally gets in and around and everybody starts to make those absolutely mandatory pit stops. Clearly the leader in that. The question is, how does it shake out? Did the undercut work? Is the overcut going to work? That's where the time can be made up.
Yeah, really interesting to see Rodriguez and Moreira both still being out there. And Moreira goes even for another lap as he finished this one here. So he will not pit in the same window as the other drivers, but so will De Oliveira Rodriguez. Let's see if that pays out for both of them. Flamke in 4th. He's now also in the pits. Yep, just rolling in with a beautiful green. By the way, that's my absolute favorite color for a Lamborghini. I love those green, whatever shade of green it is, but more like neon green. I think that's what I really love on those cars. Just the edges pop out so massively on those colors. But enough of a close shot of the car livery. Back to racing action. And back to Moreira, who has... Is that Leo in the background? Yes, it is.
Yeah, things have shaken out a little bit now. Obviously, you know, Moreira and Leo both stayed out, while he did lose a couple of places there. We've got another driver in there. Flamke's in the pits now, so Cunningham just going over the pits. Hendrickson, the man that's leading the race, or will be leading the race, is quite far ahead. He's actually getting close to catching and lapping Castro Beltran at the moment, who's obviously at the back of the grid so far. So things are shaking out, all the pit stops coming through. It's really a case of where they all drop out, and is anybody going to get in the way? Is anybody causing problems? Leo really trying to put his foot down as much as he can and keep on the backside of Moreira, but still going to be ruining the chances. Moreira, though, is coming into the pits.
Yeah, he had to. I mean, he stayed out for quite a while now, longer than everyone else around him besides Rodriguez and Leo. So let's see. He's probably the last front runner, I would say, besides Rodriguez, who's still leading and still going strong. But he also probably has to manage traffic a bit. Let's see if there's anyone around him. No, there isn't. So if he can really nail lap times now, this could pay off big for him.
He looked like he was fighting the wheel there. I don't know about nailing lap times. I thought,
I mean, his
moment,
best lap time is 1:27.177, and his last was 1:27.5.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, he's doing what he can. It looked like a bit of reverse lock to me just a moment ago, as soon as I switched to him. But
he's by far the quickest driver currently on the grid.
So it's clearly coming into him. I mean, obviously, in terms of fuel, it's pretty much the same for all these guys. They're going to be fueled up throughout regardless. So it's all on Leo. And let's not forget, this is the guy that did qualify in 3rd place, did get himself into 2nd place at the start, around the first hairpin, and then got caught from behind. So we know he has the pace. And with an open track, he's going to try and deliver it.
It depends on how quick William Hendrickson now picks up a pace again. He's at a 1:27.4 last time crossing the line.
He's coming in.
And his best lap time obviously was a 1:26, so the overall fastest lap time. Let's see if Oliveira Rodriguez can actually make something out of the open track. Well, you said already, Leo is in, which means next car up is Camillo coming around, but that's quite far off, and he also has to pit. Same for Montepone in the background. That needs to somehow get that done in the next 6.5 minutes. They stay out, actually. Okay. Camillo might be the last car then. That will be very, very interesting to see that, yeah. So he will be the last one to stay out besides De Oliveira Rodriguez. This was Camilo and Montepone in the background. And the number 24 car. That just went a bit wide there. Yep, more water standing. And then just losing traction. A bit too early on the accelerator. Not the way to do it, but at least looks fancy.
Yeah, that's why he obviously came into the pits, been in there a while actually as well. So I was just seeing if he had any issues there. Just going through, looking at the fastest laps at the moment to see who is the quickest. Hendrickson, obviously, 1:26.8. Done a very quick lap in there. Carney actually had a pretty good one. 1:27.3 is his fastest, and a 1:27.7 just a moment ago. So definitely putting the pace down to try and chase down Hendrickson, see if he can get any closer. A 1:27.5 though for Felipe behind him, who's leading this tight pack once again. But look at this. Look how important it's been. Moreira was leading this pack, and now Felipe, who came in first,
got out ahead of him, and Leo, who went the extra 2 laps, has come out between them.
Yeah, definitely worked out for him, and the loser on this group is Moreira, as he said already. By the way, De Oliveira Rodriguez is still out there, while Camilo just came in. So, yeah, he really wants to drive these tires as long as possible. Small mistake by Leo in front of Moreira will allow him to close that gap once again. He obviously has his eyes on Felipe. You said it, it's important for him in the overall standings to get close or to be in front of Felipe. For that, he would need to make quite a few moves here, I would say, in the last roughly 14.5 minutes.
Just, okay, Carnahan's actually just put another 127.4, and he's really trying to gain on Hendrickson. Also, just to look at the in terms of lap times, Negrini, running down 11th, also just did a 127.3. So, he's obviously, you know, we saw he had that issue, he had a bit of an off, he did. Felipe, meanwhile, just did his fastest lap, so clearly excelling under the pressure of having Leo and Moreo on his back. That's his fastest lap so far. It is a 127.5, so he's keeping up at the moment and trying to catch up on Carnahan, who's also pulling in some absolute belters. Hendrickson still looking great. De Oliveira still yet to pit, finally has come in, so we'll see where he comes out. He was running in second place before the pit window opened.
Yeah, and Hendrickson still in the last sector here. So let's see. He has last corner right in front of him now before he's blasting onto the start-finish straight. Let's see where De Oliveira Rodriguez comes out. He's still in the pits. That's the car that we saw there on the left. Yep. Still sitting still. Probably also working on his 10-second penalty, because that is gone in terms of the overlays. So let's see, there's Felipe coming around. Do we catch both cars here maybe on the helicam? Let's see. Somewhere there should be De Oliveira Rodriguez. There he is. Felipe comes around.
Oh, he's going to be right in the middle of the pack. This is going to be disastrous. He's going to come out right behind them all. There's Moreira going around the outside. He's going to be slower on the inside, of course, and he does come out right alongside Leo. Would you believe it? De Oliveira was punted before, and he was the one that sent Leo off the track, and now, oh, just a little slip, and he comes out and joins this fight. Moreira will not be happy with this.
Yeah, unbelievable how De Oliveira Rodriguez got right between this fighting group that was going on since the start of the race, basically. Slotted in 5th. We thought there might be a chance for him to be 4th, but we have to say Leo and Felipe, they did very well on the pit stops, as we can see that Moreira dropped down to 6th. So it worked out for them, and at least De Oliveira is still in the top 5, and with only half a second of a gap to Leo, there might still be a chance for him also to gain a few more positions. Even Felipe is still on the table.
Hendrickson is just smashing it, though, the lead at the moment. He's just done a 127.2, so, you know, his standard lap, average lap, that's faster than Carnahan, who's running in second. That's faster than his fastest lap. So he's just smashing out the laps right now. He's looking great for that front lead position, and it's clearly, obviously, about this battle for third position, effectively. Third down to 6th place, all right here on the straight together. You love to see it. Felipe just getting himself a little advantage, and that will put more pressure on Leo. If he can break away from this pack, the podium will be secured.
And look at that, that's the gap. Oh, that was Leo shooting a bit wide, and that might open the door for... Oh, that was a crash between De Oliveira Rodriguez and Leo, who now dropped, I think, even behind Moreira.
Moreira's right on his backside. Moreira wants to try and get past there, realizes the connection. That's just an unsafe joint to the track, really, if anything. Obviously, clearly gone out of position, and he's got a real problem now. Moreira into the hairpin, keeping right on his backside, but De Oliveira Rodriguez will be fuming with the fact that he chose to run long, the longest really on the track of these front runners. And it kind of backfired on him. He was running in a much better position. He was in that podium position. He had to serve, of course, that 10-second penalty, which is what caused this for cutting in the first place. So he has to get his wheels on here. Let's have a look at how this all played out. This is actually going to be Leo just running wide. We saw it from the rear side, and there it is. He just turned in on De Oliveira.
Yeah, it's not really an unsafe return, though, as he never left the track.
Yeah.
But yeah, the question is how the marshals will see that situation, because he had to be aware of the car on the inside. There was no other way of putting it there, right?
It's not like the game doesn't tell you, car on the left.
But that also means that this guy, William Hendrickson, is still far up ahead. Even
He's
though
gone wide again. He's just done wide again. Leo's just gone absolutely done his breaking point once again on the hairpin. Look at that, he's miles behind them now.
Yeah, he will not be in contention for this fighting group at all, I think, unless they do a mistake, because we only have 9.5 minutes, and Moreira now has 1.5 second gap. And Oliver Rodriguez is obviously hunting for Felipe, but it seems like Felipe managed to break away. Look at the gap now, the distance there. The yellow, orange, reddish car that just went over the crest, that was Felipe. So the Oliveira Rodriguez not really close, and instead probably has to focus of not letting Moreira slip by.
Absolutely, almost a second faster on that last lap. So definitely found some pace now, starting to chase down. Similar pace, actually, a slightly quicker pace than Carnahan, just ahead of him. Meanwhile, Hendrickson is, well, he's gone, hasn't he? he's well gone. The leader of the race that we so rarely see with just 9 minutes to go. He has himself a really nice cushion to Carnahan. I mean, yes, if he makes a big mistake, then perhaps there will be a chance for Carnahan to get back past him, but he has very much got this race in the bag. In fact, tell a lie, that's Gonzalez, but he's just lapped behind him, so he's miles ahead right now.
I also have to report that Borges is out of the race for quite a while now already. He left at lap 16, while we're now in lap 24 with Hendrickson. Kind of missed that because Borges was running well within the top 10 there.
Yeah, and he's obviously 16 points overall, so he's in with contention, so he'll have to get himself back in there for the next hour-long session to see if he can try and do anything here. Carnahan just catching up to Castro Beltran, so he's going to be lapping him there. And I did mention that Felipe absolutely sees him, and he's going to try and reel him in. He's got 8 minutes to do it. Still, it's a huge gap that I'd be surprised if he can make up. But you know what? He's lapping quicker, so who knows?
Yeah, we'll see how this turns out. I mean, 7.5 minutes is still a lot to race for. A lot of things that could happen, and I'm quickly checking the standings for North American, Latin American region again from the previous race to check where Borges was. João Borges was in 6th after the 2 Monza races, so he will lose a lot of points with the DNF here in race 1 in Laguna Seca.
The cars are getting quicker. We're starting to see more and more 127.3s. And then Hendrickson just does a 127 flat. just to sort of like, yeah, you guys are catching, but you're still not as quick as me right now. That said, De Oliveira Rodriguez just did a 127 flat, so feeling the pressure from behind, he's actually shook Moreira off now, so that's looking good for a 4th place for him with just under 7 minutes now. Obviously, we know that Felipe is doing his best to chase down on Carnahan. Any mistake will absolutely put them out of position. Carnahan has got past Castro Beltran, so we could start seeing back markers causing problems here.
Yeah, there will be a bit of traffic for all of these guys because you said Castro Beltran, he's in between cars here, so back that. Which car number is it?
63.
No, I mean behind Castro Beltran.
Oh, Felipe is behind him at the moment. Felipe is the one that's coming up behind. Castro Beltran's doing 129.7, so obviously, almost 2 seconds a lap. These guys are quicker, so it probably won't take too much for them to get past them. But there's always that option that you never really know where he's going to go. And the blue flags, of course, will be waved for him. So it does mean De Oliveira and Moreira all closing in. Leo has actually gained back onto Moreira as well, so got himself back in there. But Castro Beltran getting very much out the way of Felipe.
Hopefully he gets out of the way. Not done yet, but on the inside into turn 1, Gabriel Felipe passes. Yep, that did work. Took down one of the markings on the left, I think. Something was floating around there. I think something was flying around, not flowing. It wasn't water. Although there is a bit of water. But a brake marker is missing now. Hopefully no one will miss that one. And for his braking zones. And we see sometimes that happens when
That's
drivers...
my downfall. Yeah, that's my downfall because I rely on those brake markers, and if they do get wiped out, suddenly I'm like, where's my point? I haven't got a marker on the track. What am I doing?
Back in the days, you could still use shadows because they were static, but with everything being dynamic now, not even that works. So you have to learn it properly.
Pesky graphic upgrades, eh? Yeah, who'd have thought? But Hendrickson, let's talk about him because, you know, we were talking about the fact that he did miss that first race at Monza. He had qualified himself in third place in that race, but had internet issues, and wisely, and, you know, all credit to him, did decide, you know what, I'm just going to pull out of the way. I'm clearly pinging all over the place right now, so took himself out of the equation effectively. But he's come here into Laguna Seca, one of the home US tracks, of course, and absolutely smashed it in the first race. He is not only obviously just, you know, leading the race, and he could just sit and cushion it. He's actually looking to try and beat his best lap right now. He's up to 1:26.8 once again. He's smashing it compared to everyone else.
Yeah, it's really impressive that after now 40 minutes, he's still coming up with those lap times, and I hope he has a lot left in the tank for race 2, which will be slightly longer. Same track, obviously. Could be different weather. As you can see, in the next 10 minutes, top right off the screen, we should get more rain. Luckily, we're done in a bit less than 4 minutes. So drivers don't have to adjust once again, but...
Moreira, that's tricky. Moreira trying to get past the back marker. Does in the end go around the outside. Leo was looking to go up the inside. We were talking about those back markers possibly causing problems. Leo looking to try and get past, should be clean through, and is, thankfully.
Yeah, but that brought Leo really back onto Moreira. Look at that, how close he is now to the 68 car of Moreira, of the current standing leader. But through a corkscrew, Leo a bit slower there. Not really getting onto the accelerator early enough. And then these long flowing corners towards the start-finish straight once again. Yeah, it was a short time, yeah, where Leo was gaining on Moreira. But Moreira once again top of the game currently here in this fighting group, making sure that Leo does not get in striking distance.
Yeah, should be safe now, just under 3 minutes remaining, so just about 2, maybe 3 laps, depending on where Hendrickson is.
Leo overshooting into turn 1. Or that was a very interesting variant of a double apex, I'm not quite sure.
He's done that before. That's where he's made his mistakes before, Leo. And a couple of times we've seen him just out-braking himself, whether he's a little too close in that dirty air and just sort of misreading the braking point a little bit. You do need to brake just that little bit earlier than you ordinarily would if you're in a standard sort of hot lap setup it effectively with clear air. So maybe just catching himself a little off guard there, but it does look like he's going to be perfectly okay. Looking across, everybody else pretty much set up. Felipe was putting a little challenge on Carnahan. They're both going through the corkscrew right now. Carnahan's looking pretty good. Has gone a little bit slower on his last lap, almost a second slower than Felipe actually. So if there was more time, perhaps he would have caught it, or maybe just got to get... Was there any back markers in the way? It doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. But doesn't matter, because look at Hendrickson. He's absolutely smashing it. There is going to be, potentially, 2 more laps. Where's he at right now? No, we should just have 1 more lap because he's going to be over 1:30. So this will be starting the final lap in just a second.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to drag it any longer. So if you can try to be a bit slower to make it, I think all the other drivers would appreciate that, because rain is getting heavier, and they want to be done before they need even better tires for the wet, I would say. Unfortunately, there is no upgrade to wet. There is no super wet.
I think there's going to be another, you know. I was looking at his position on track. I'm like, 1 minute left. I'm pretty sure we may have another. So penultimate lap right here. He's going to get over the line because he's going through the corkscrew right now with 50 seconds. Yeah, he definitely will go over the line.
He could just try to slow it down a bit, because gap to Carlin is big enough. I mean, look, that's Carlin who's just going up the hill now to corkscrew, Diego Carlin. So not close to Hendrickson. Hendrickson lapping another back marker, 30 seconds. So he could really roll the car now.
just park it, no. Just going to go for it. Another lap. Let's get on with it. Hendrickson on his final lap. and he has been doing fantastically well throughout here. 126.8 is fastest, and sort of averaging those 127.6s in the wet, in a pretty torrential downpour. He's been on his own throughout there, so well played to him to get back in. Lots of achievements across sim racing in general. Carnahan in second place. He's going to be happy. Yes, Felipe is closing on him. Yes, he's definitely closing the gap. That's going to be an interesting battle, I think, going forward into the next race.
Yeah, and we still have Morera and Leo, because Leo is 0.7 seconds. He was half a second most of the previous lap. So if Morera does a mistake here on the very last lap, or even run out of fuel, we have seen that before. Happened to me lately as well. Luckily not in the real race. But there might be a chance for Leo to launch one last attack on Morera, on Fidel Morera in the 68 car right in front, but not with the current distance they have.
No, I don't think so. And let's not forget, you know, if you make a mistake now and you screw it up, then chances are it's going to ruin your next race, because you'll be starting much further down the field. So just get yourself secure and battle once again. You know, lay out a fantastic start in the start of this race before he did get punted off. Didn't see exactly who it was that did it, but oh, that's a big cut for Morera there.
Luckily not a penalty, and William Hendrickson, he just crossed the line and won the very first race here in round 2 of Lamborghini, the real race. Laguna Seca with, I would say, besides being challenged maybe by the circumstances, he was never challenged by anyone else. Diego Carlin came over the line second, Felipe over the line third, and then De Oliveira Rodriguez, who closed the gap quite a lot, actually, comes in, and then the top 5 ends with Fidel Morera, the current standings leader.
Yeah, who just pulls up on the side, says thank you very much. Morera in there. Definitely a couple of problems throughout that race. Obviously, they're going to be looking at how it all sort of laid out. I mean, but the story is that the fact that William Hendrickson turns up and absolutely delivers from the start and blows away the opposition.
Yeah, he did, and he kind of redeemed himself for what happened in Monza, right? We said it already. It was due to his internet connection problems, and he was never able to show his true pace in the race there in round 1, but he can now in round 2, and I would say he's in the perfect situation now to do a back-to-back win in round 2 with that storm towards the front, especially if Morera does not get a podium today.
No, and absolutely smashed it, taking over back markers across there. You love to see it. Obviously, we have Morera, Leo, all having their little battle in there with De Oliveira Rodriguez. Yes, we had connection earlier on for Leo, sort of a bit of a collision, which forced him down the field. Could have been much more interesting the way he was starting off, but it does seem that all these guys, I would say the top 7, all have pretty good pace.
They definitely do, and it will be interesting to see what happens in the second race of today in the North American, Latin American region. And so we'll head into a 1-hour race, 1 mandatory pit stop, 20 drivers, and they all want to race for the ultimate prize of becoming a Lamborghini Sim Driver 2022 and drive the real Lamborghini race car, the Super Trofeo Evo 2, on a racetrack as well. So everything to go for in round 2, in race number 2, coming right up after the break. round number 2 of the championship at Laguna Seca. Normally, I would say, a beautiful, sunny Laguna Seca in the US, but at least for race 1, Lee, it was quite rainy out there.
Yeah, and judging by the what the drivers have said, it's been the same throughout all the regions. So a rainy Laguna Seca has been delivering the action, it seems, across the board. So obviously everybody's had to put up with this across both Asia Pacific, Europe, and of course here in the North America and Latin America sort of server. But you know what? It hasn't slowed some of those drivers down. Obviously Hendrickson smashing it there, having a really strong start. And if he can get out of that hairpin, I don't see anyone catching him.
Yeah, I mean, his pace was untouched in the first race, but we also know that part of that confidence he was racing with was obviously built on him being very, I don't want to say lucky, that's kind of taking it away from him because he wasn't just lucky, but obviously with everyone else being kind of bunched up, busy with cars left and right, he had a clean start that allowed him to relax basically right from the get-go, get into the groove, and then start really putting and hammering down those lap times.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? But it wasn't even just that. Even when he was lapping people later on, obviously he was starting to get past people, he was still posting those lap times consistently faster than the fastest person behind him. Like it was averaging quicker laps than their best laps in the game. So really a much faster driver, it seems, in the wet. Definitely feeling very confident with his style here at Laguna Seca. Of course, we'll see how the season progresses. This is the beauty of this, right? The fact is that they're not guaranteed to be here next time out. We're going to, I think it's Suzuka next, right? We end up on, and we're not guaranteed to have Hendrickson there. He's chasing the points as it is. So there's a strong possibility it's going to be an endurance race next as well. That's going to bring something completely different to it. This is all at Suzuka, by the way. I should put across. That's going to be a 2-hour race there. Yeah. This one, though, we're moving on. It will be an hour-long race. Once again, they have to take one pit stop. When will it be? Who will it benefit? Obviously, we saw, unfortunately, a 10-second penalty going across to De Oliveira Rodriguez, who was running in second place at the time, or second or third place, I believe it was, fourth in the points overall as well. So absolutely kicking himself that he ended up coming, I think it was fifth in that race.
Yeah, for Moreira, it was still a solid result, but obviously it helps Hendrickson to get back into contention for the first place in the region, because it's just so big of a gap right now. It was 4 positions for Hendrickson who comes back, who had 4 points from the previous hot lap and pre-round, basically. So he's not starting at 0 according to the standings. So it might be a chance here if he really nails Laguna Seca, that all of a sudden this could be wide open once again going to Suzuka. And as I said, Suzuka, completely different race. 2 hours, you will run different breaks, we'll run different strategies. There's no second go, right? If you mess it up in turn 1, lap 1, that's it for you. There's no second race.
I mean, you don't need to tell Leia that, right? Obviously, I mean, he didn't mess it up. He just got pretty much sent from behind. And actually, I think it was De Oliveira Rodriguez that got also hit, which caused the sort of the connecting damage that happened out there. So you know what? These things happen. This is racing. Sometimes problems happen, and we have to deal with it. Now, I feel that Leo actually dealt with it pretty well throughout that. Leo obviously he's fifth in the points overall. We know he's quick, which is why I'm really interested to see how this one's going to play out at the start, because there does seem to be about 6 or 7 drivers that are all pretty much running at the same pace. So while they had great points maybe in the last race, it could be very different here.
Yeah, definitely. Although it is the same track, could be different weather in this session as well. So, might Hendricks being one of those rain gods on the track? Could there be someone quicker in case it is dry right now in Laguna Seca and it dried out? Then all of a sudden this could look different, but Hendrickson should start in first. There's no reverse grid in the second race, which obviously puts him once again in the perfect spot to just have a rerun, basically, of race 1. And for Moreira, that means top 5. He has 4 cars in front of him, and if he wants to make a move and climb, then probably lap number 1 is the best chance to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about how this could definitely change things. There's no doubt about it. This could set up a very different race. We'll see who can be the quickest. Obviously, I'm just watching De Oliveira, already just ran wide there, so people just trying to figure out get their eye back in, get the braking points back in, get back into that hot lap mode that they were in before originally. And of course, there is an hour-long's fuel instead as well, as opposed to what they just had previously for the 45-minute race.
Yeah, unless they forget to put in those 15 minutes of fuel, right?
I think the fact that it's potentially dry does mean that they will be forced to change settings, so that's where they will absolutely remember, you'd hope.
Yeah, I think that's the most heartbreaking things I see in sim racing in esports, right? I mean, I'm seeing sim racing races now for over 15 years, and every single time someone runs out because he's low on fuel or all that, I'm like, know that feeling, and it hurts massively.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing worse than just be like, oh no, I know what I forgot. The start of the race, and you just see people sort of fade away into this sort of chair, just like, oh,
there are two ways of getting there, right? So it's either you realize very early that it doesn't work and you try to make it work, or you pit very early, or you never check your fuel gauge because you're like, it's the right setup, I loaded everything correctly, and then as soon as the low fuel warning comes on, you're like, wait, that's a bit early for the low fuel warning. And then a panic spreads across the entire body and mind in like less than 0.1 of a second, basically.
Yeah, and obviously the drivers, they just need a little time to get themselves set up. We're sat here, we're in the server watching the drivers just getting themselves set up, obviously make sure they have everything set to go with the hour long, so they are just sorting themselves out. I'm watching De Oliveira at the moment trying to put some laps in on his now fully fueled car.
Yeah, let's see. I'm just really interested in seeing 2-1 if Henriksen gets away without being contested at all. We saw in the previous race, I think it was Karnin going at De Oliveira, Rodriguez, in the very first corners of the race, which kind of bunched up everyone else. There was a little spin, at least a bit of sideways action in turn 2 as well, which cost everyone time. So could be different this time. Maybe someone's attacking Henriksen right down there at the first braking zone.
Yeah, definitely caused problems in that first hairpin. There's no doubt about it. That's where the collision was. I didn't actually catch, like I say, I even in the replay, I didn't quite catch who punted who. I just saw De Oliveira's car spinning, sort of sideways. It collected into Leo's car. That sent Leo off the track. It actually corrected De Oliveira's car, but I didn't see the original protagonist. I didn't see the man that punted De Oliveira from behind. I managed to get away with it, so I didn't see who it was, but I'm sure the drivers absolutely know who it was, and they would have had a few choice words.
Yeah, it's very likely that they know exactly, and I was just wondering, it's like, I was checking lap time, it's like, wait, they're way quicker than race 1, but of course they are, because currently the track is dry, although if I look over to my right, in the top right corner, I can see that it says rain in 30 minutes.
Ooh, that would be good. If it comes midway through, people are going to have to sort of figure, yeah, I see it at the moment. Yeah, you're right. I do see rain at 30 minutes. So that would be halfway through. I mean, luckily, it kind of coming just as the pit stop should be starting anyway. So it may not affect it as much as we would hope. But it could change things. We'll see who decides to stay out just that lap or two longer.
Will be very interesting, and I think those are the best races, right? Where it starts raining midway through the race. A full wet race is nice, but everyone kind of knows what to expect. I think the real stars shine in these laps in between, where you can't really decide, like, do I get a wet tire now? Do I stay out on slicks? Can I finish the race as it is right now? And I think that really showcases amazing drivers and real talent.
Yeah, and it'll also change the tyre temperatures. It changes everything. It changes the whole dynamic of the race. 38-degree track temperature right now. So we could be going in, as soon as that rain starts to kick in, it will drop, and then the tyres will start to go off, and we won't be quite as quick in the corners as you maybe think you are, and that's when people can maybe get unstuck and find themselves some problems. Also want to keep my eye on Oliveira to make sure he doesn't have any of those track cuts. Will absolutely be kicking himself the fact that he had that 10-second penalty in the previous race, because he was running fantastically well in second place until that happened, and it put him right in that bunch, that thick of it, that 3-car battle suddenly became the 4-car battle, and he found himself very much in a bit of a slugfest.
Yes, it will be interesting to see how everyone gets out of lap 1, basically. I think that sets the tone for a race like this. With being 1 hour, looking at how the previous race finished, we could have seen Filippo maybe changing a position if the race would have gone for another 5 minutes, right? So we got another 15 minutes now on the clock. So let's see if that has an impact on the late game, so to say, if we speak in esports terms, at the end of this race. And if that might change, they should all still run the sprint break pads, even with 1 hour. That should easily work. Probably even with a 2-hour race. I think they can run 3 hours max, kind of on the sprint pads in this series. But yeah, maybe someone has a specific setup now for dry that's a bit more aggressive, right? We see that often, like how much turn-in do you want from the rear of your car? How much toe-in and camber are you willing to use? And in the dry, there could be a huge difference currently in practice session as we're waiting for a few drivers to join. We've got Hendrickson with a 1:22.9. So that's roughly a 4 seconds difference according to Rain. I would have expected it to be more, to be honest.
What do you say? It's 122s, yeah, at the moment. They were... What, they were what were we at? 126s, right? 126, I think Hendrickson was doing. He did his fastest, so yeah, not too much off it, but we'll see how they can. The track maybe rubber in. I didn't see how it was at the moment, so maybe it's going to get a little bit better. But I'm just watching. Who am I on board with? De Oliveira, I think I was watching. But yeah, good jump in car and see how Hendrick's doing. Exactly what you're following at the moment. So. See if he can post some of those. He has posted the fastest lap so far, but only just De Oliveira arrived very much behind him, but everybody else is way off. Speaking of way off, De Oliveira just spun.
I mean, it's just free practice. He can try out whatever he wants, but yeah, being here in the cockpit of William Hendrickson, we can see the master of race 1 at
we got
work.
the fastest.
Let's see how he drops. Oh yeah, De Oliveira Rodriguez is a bit quicker in the dry, and that's what I said. What if Hendrickson was just the quickest guy due to either what happened in the first 2 turns or due to raining? And then the question is, will it rain again?
Well, I mean, he was the fastest guy in closed quali as well, so he's clearly obviously a fast guy, and he was the fastest guy throughout the race. So we've got to assume, as much as I'd like to think there is a chance that somebody's going to threaten him, and there absolutely is. The fact that De Oliveira just went half a second faster in that lap than Hendrickson does tell me that the track may be rubbering in and people are just getting used to this. Or he just went, you know what, I'm going to try it with low fuel just to really mind mess with you. Someone's just having a little spin out the pits there. Nice.
Can happen. Happened to a friend of mine in a real race lately, actually. Coming off... the pits. I think that must be one of the worst crashes you can have, right? Like, he was describing it to me. He basically got off the pit limiter, didn't have direction control on, and the first thing that happens right after the line when exiting the pits was him smashing it into the wall on the left. It's like... Nice. Oh, that must feel so bad. It's like... Just imagine the comms, right? Like, telling your team, like, guys, I left pits. I can still wave at you. Might need a bit... duct tape and
I kind of just made a big mistake. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, guys looking and saying it's 50 minutes free practice. They're just in a free practice session. We're waiting for actually 2 drivers to join the server, which is what the delay is so far. We will have an hour-long race, which is absolutely going to crucify me as an England fan, is all I'm going to say. This, as an Italian race car, is going to be punishing.
Yeah, I just saw it in the chat. Someone was asking like 50 minutes of free practice.
It's Paolo, my Portuguese friend, just like, okay.
Yeah, we will not run 50 minutes of free practice, obviously. We just wait for the last driver to finally join, and then we're good to go for the Laguna WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. I mean, that's why it's raining. It's the sponsor of the real track is WeatherTech. Could be that. Do they create their own weather? Never know. Let's see who's out there. Hendrickson is back on track once again. How's Woodrow doing? We didn't saw a lot of Ryan Woodrow last race. And then number 68 now. Beautiful shot of his car. I absolutely love these cameras. Like, Assetto Corsa Competizione has beautiful camera shots. Comes to you being able to enjoy the cars and enjoy the liveries.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering. Obviously, if you think of some of the drivers that went off in the last race as well, like Moisen, who clearly had problems in there. Castro Beltran, obviously. Negrini also spun it. Was showing good lap times. Just had that spin, that one off. So all of these drivers obviously going to be looking to try and improve on what just happened. Make sure that they can get around and make sure that the same doesn't happen again, basically, as they get their eye in here on the free practice.
Interesting. I also don't see Joao Borges on the server right now, who had the DNF early on. So might be one of the drivers that we hope to bring back into the race. He is a top 10 contender for sure. So it will be great to have him here in the second race. And see if maybe he can avoid the DNF this time and race for a top 5 position maybe.
You can only hope, that's for sure. We're still just waiting for a player to join. Just seeing if the times are going to start coming down. At the moment, they're not that much quicker. I guess, obviously, don't forget everyone's driving fully fueled up as well. So, you know, 4 seconds faster, also fully fueled up. So we'll see just how quick they can be towards the end of the race more than anything. And hopefully we'll see some real fast racing. We know we're going to get a challenge from the top 6 or 7. I want to see whether some of these guys that put in and made errors, made mistakes in the last race, whether they can make up for it and try and gain some of those places, get back into that top 10.
Yeah, let's hope that we get the last drivers on fairly soon. Not keeping you guys waiting any longer. So it's not like we don't want to see racing action. We definitely want to. And we're eager to commentate on another lap 1 miracle, maybe. Let's see what happens there. But for that, we need to get these guys all on the grid. Get them to fight their cars. I mean, as a driver, things can happen that you can't be in the car, right? Not just talking sim. I once forgot... What did I forget? I think I forgot the balaclava. You know, this thing that you wear underneath your helmet?
Yep. The fire safety.
Yeah,
yep.
I was sitting on the grid, in the car, being ready. It's like, that was also my first bigger race where there couldn't be no one next to me on the grid. As in, like, helping. So it's like, oh, I got my stuff on, so I put my gloves on the steering wheel, because early on you always put them somewhere that you don't reach them anymore once you have the seatbelts on.
Yeah,
like
you're in the harness, yeah.
So I got everything in place, and I'm like, alright, putting on the helmet, and I'm like, wait, something is missing. Well, that's the moment I realized the balaclava is not there. And then getting everything off again.
Completely having to get out to get it.
Trying to get out of the car, running towards the truck, getting it, running back to the car onto the grid, people looking very confused.
Looking at you like, what is he doing?
Yeah, like,
has he forgot the toilet or something? Does he suddenly need to go, be caught short?
So I'm in the car, getting everything done, the hunt system, like the seatbelts, like the harness, everything done in place, and that's when I realized I'm absolutely out of breath. And really, I was sitting in the car like, not sure if I should start the race. That's when I realized would not be bad to do a bit more training.
A bit more
maybe.
physio. Might need to do a little bit more work
Yeah,
here.
there's more to just being more to it than just being quick in the car. And I have to say, luckily there was obviously the warm-up lap, right? So I could chill a bit in the car, but
I
it's
bet
not
you were
easy.
sweating buckets sitting there as well. You just having to do all that 'cause in a full stress burnout like mode. Like, oh. I mean, if it was the Nürburgring, at least you got a pretty slow lap to figure out what you got to go.
Well, that is true. There was a bit of time. So, we got session start, which means I need to make sure that we set up correctly. Everyone in the cars are flying currently, as they're obviously readjusting the setups. Alright, so we got Hendrickson starting first. Carney in a second, so that's the first starting row. We didn't talk that much about Diego Carney. He has had quite a, let's say, uneventful race for most of the time, besides the start. Felipe in third, then Rodriguez, De Oliveira Rodriguez, Morera, then Leo, Flamga, Woodrow, Miguel, and Camilo to close up the top 10. I see Borges did not return, so he will not have another go.
We just lost
Also-
somebody else as well.
Yeah, I think Negrini just DNF'd as well. Wait, is everyone afraid of the rain? They probably all had their dry setups on.
Yeah,
Look,
I know, it's
look,
raining
look.
again, boys.
And rain gets more and more.
Well, this is why I was saying when we were seeing him go around, I was like, is this happening? I did try and get the information back. Leo didn't get the start off there, so definitely some issues. But we'll see how it goes. As I say, it does start out as they finished. So same sort of setup. So Hendrickson, Canian, Felipe, De Oliveira, Rodriguez, Morera, Leo, and then Flamga, Woodrow, Miguel. As you mentioned, we did lose a couple. So the position's getting a little interesting further back. I'm very interested to see how it goes. I thought if Negrini was in there, he certainly would have been able to make ground because he was certainly posting fast laps, but doesn't look like that's the case. It is going to be an hour-long race as they approach starting grid.
Yeah, let's see if it will be a rerun of the first race that we had today, which was kind of a clean start, I would say. Besides that little sideways action and bump, everything else looked absolutely fine from our perspective. So, let's see, Hendrickson will open it up once again. Karnin right next to him. And that will be the interesting part now. It's like, what is happening with everyone else there? We see that is Philippe being far on the wall there, on the left, in the yellow car, while the race is underway. And Hendrickson, not as quick a start as previously, but enough to be in front of Carlin. Carlin starting right behind him. Philippe in the yellow car has to open the gap for De Oliveira Rodriguez, who's now up the inside. Can he make the pass, though? It seems like everyone went through quite quickly without any major bumps, and we're underway with race 2.
Oh, and Leo just trying to make sure he doesn't go wide as well. Felipe, as you mentioned, getting very close to Carnian, and Morera up behind him trying to work it way round. But this is a great start once again from Hendrickson, isn't it? He is away already. Certainly got his eye on this one. That's a wide run there. I think there's that De Oliveira that just ran wide. I think Woodrow maybe just passed him from 7th place. Definitely a wide exit on the curve. But look at this man. Hendrickson absolutely smashing it well away.
Oh, huge crash in the background. Someone went wide in the left-hand kink there, and it seems like that was a major smash there.
Camilo.
Yeah, he went back onto the track, basically, right into a few other drivers. And I fear that there might be a ton of damage. Well, we see Igor De Oliveira Rodriguez being under pressure here by Miguel, who just passed him on the outside there. And, yeah, Oliveira Rodriguez coming in probably too much damage, or not quite sure. Maybe he had the wrong setup? I can't see that happening. I mean, they had 1 minute to prepare, but once again, it is William Hendrickson being the winner in lap 1. Maybe even the winner of the second race, who knows? But a very good start once again.
Yeah, but it is Felipe putting a very little challenge onto Carnahan's back there. A little peek towards him. Great to see Ryan Woodrow also being brought into this one now in 6th place up behind Leo as well. But Moreira keeping his eye on what is going on in front of him. A potential podium position for him. That's what he's looking to chase down. He wants to get as many points as he can after getting 50 points in the first race at Monza. Back-to-back winner. Let's have a look at some replays of that first lap.
That was everything that happened in the King. You see
God,
that 2 cars went off there, and then I think it was Camilo coming back in, smashing into one of the other cars that were just up the hill. You see that was very costly, and a ton of damage.
Yeah, just rejoined a little too hastily, straight back in. Trying to get straight back onto the racing line is never really going to work out like that. You have to give them space and just accept the fact that you've ran wide, you are going to lose places. There's no reason to just get straight back on it, because there's no way you'll ever, you're only ever going to connect with someone. It's insane that happened. It should be happening at this level, in fairness. Just keeping my eye on Moreira. Leia actually, once again, just dipping off a little bit there. So away from this chasing pack. We knew this was going to really be the main pack, but it is second down to 5th. That's the real pack, because, as you mentioned, De Oliveira Rodriguez did have that damage early on, had to go for the pits. It's put him out of the run-in, and it does mean that Ryan Woodrow, currently in 6th place, is potentially with a chance of some decent points here.
Yeah, it's once again this group that around the top 5, I would say, with Gabriel Philippe in as well, that has probably most pressure on him. He sees Karnin right in front, so it's not too far away, but Hendrickson already up to 2.5 seconds. That guy is on fire at Laguna Seca, especially when it rains, it seems. And keep in mind, the second fastest guy in free practice was De Oliveira Rodriguez, and he had already a pit stop.
Yeah, Hendrickson is gone, completely gone. 1.277, just on his fastest lap as well in his last lap, and may well continue to smash that, compared to 2nd place on a 128.6. So almost a second a lap faster than 2nd place. And I say that because Felipe is putting the pressure on right now, once again, but it is a tough track to overtake on.
Yeah, definitely. There are not many choices of lines, I would say, as most of these corners are quite quick, so you have to nail that one entry to have maximum speed out of the corner. And one of the few chances that would be this one here, obviously, and we saw a few mistakes in the rain happening.
Just a couple of different lines there as well. Felipe taking just a slightly different line, trying to go for maybe a bit of a switch back onto Carnahan, but yeah, I mean, it's too big of a hairpin really to try and make that work, unless the driver's made a really big error. And we saw Leo having some serious late braking issues on that same hairpin. It does seem that Carnahan actually got himself a bit of a gap there after making that error, so Felipe's line was actually worse off, and now Moreira is being brought into this one. He wants to put a challenge, just having a little look on the inside, see if you can force Felipe to go defensive. Ooh, almost put a toe onto the gravel as well, and cost himself some places.
Yeah, it's not easy there at all. You want to have maximum speed, but you're also getting a bit of dirty air, less error working for you, and then all of a sudden you missed the entry. You kind of sacrificing the exit for that, because you will overshoot the corner going over the curb, and then all kinds of things can happen. We saw that previously already, so it is a prime spot for mistakes, not for overtaking, but for mistakes it is. This left kink up to corkscrew. While we finish our lap 3 for these guys. Ryan Woodrow against Miguel. Seems like Miguel actually passed on the inside there, and Woodrow down to 7th now, if I'm not mistaken. That was quite unfortunate for him there, that bump by Miguel, but Miguel made the pass. That's the 66 car in front. Yeah, it seems like he opened up the door a bit too much there in the last corner, and it allowed Miguel to really dive deep, under braking probably a bit too late to get it done cleanly. But SGT Racing, a bit of contact, I would say, is still acceptable.
It's amazing the gap that Hendrickson has already developed here over Carnahan. It's incredible, really is. He's half a second a lap, every lap faster, so he's just gone You know, the number 63 car, William Hendrickson, absolutely got this in the bag. And it's going to be a very interesting season to see how this develops, because obviously he wasn't involved in the first race after the connection incident, so Moreira benefited from that. Moreira has top 5 finished in the first race and looking to likely do it once again here in the second race as well, so he will still be the points leader no matter what after the end of today, but Hendrickson definitely will be a challenger to the throne.
Yeah, talking about challenger, it seems like De Oliveira is now locked on to Ryan Woodrow, who just lost the position against Miguel previous lap. And he once again has to focus on his rearview mirror, because that is the number 18 car right behind. And he gets the tow down start finish straight, but Woodrow also gets the tow from Miguel. So let's see if that might be enough. I love these reflections on wet tarmac. It's just racing, like pictures of racing in the wet.
Moisen in Moisen, the number 70 car. Oh, that's just a little bump in the back of Gonzalez. He is going to maybe benefit from this. Yeah, we'll give the place back on Gonzalez there. So just a little bump in the back as they went into the hairpin. So, you know, good racing there. Just gives the place back to him. Nothing lost from it, and they can go back to the battle.
Yeah, some things like that can happen. I mean, they're all on the edge, right? They're all trying to their fastest lap times. So, I think that's quite normal, that sometimes things go wrong, and that something horribly went wrong there. 2 cars. Yep, that was another spin on the grass. That could be Morales. It could also be Woodrow.
No, it's further back. Yeah, it's going to be Woodrow, I think, that's back there. Let's have a quick look as it shakes itself out. Definitely some contact, and Flamga's just actually passed straight past Moisen there, completely caught him napping going into the corkscrew, so maybe a little shaken about what happened in front of him. Moisen's away, Gonzalez losing the positions, and yeah, I don't know what happened, so that's definitely something that happened further down, but I'm just keeping my eye on Felipe at the moment, who's looking to have a little go at Carnahan here. Second and third place, definitely running close as they approach the hairpin.
Oh yeah, and Felipe around the outside a bit later, under braking. Is that enough though? Nope. There is still the car of Carnahan on the inside, and he couldn't really turn it in that much, and he needs to be aware of that, because if he does another of those around the outside dives, then we might see Fidel Moreira showing up the inside as a surprise guest in this fight for second, third, and the podium overall.
But yes, it was Ryan Woodrow and De Oliveira that are currently down in 10th and 12th now after that contact. Obviously were running pretty well. That's brought quite a few people back into the top 10, so they're certainly happy about it, that's for sure. Moisen, Flamga, Miguel also gaining those places. So getting some real good points off the back of it. That's a mistake. Felipe all over the back of Carnahan. That's a dangerous spot though, going into the corkscrew. Risky move, and he's actually backing out so much that it brought Moreira right into it. They're really going to challenge it. Moreira should get a better exit here. And Felipe on the defensive. Moreira up the inside. I don't quite think he's going to have enough drive to hold this one, but they will be side-by-side connection. Moreira forced off the track by Felipe as they were neck and neck.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate here. We see Fidel Moreira sitting there. He saw Felipe doing a mistake at corkscrew. We saw him very much up the inside. He was all the way across the AstroTurf. And then Moreira had the chance, had the better exit from corkscrew, went side by side. But it seems like one of them lost control there. Was a bit too slippery off the line. And all of a sudden, we see Moreira down to 6th now. With that, Lincoln Miguel up 5th all of a sudden. Yeah, he will be quite surprised about this. I mean, he just took down Woodrow before, and then Woodrow had that little get-together with, I think it was Moisan, or De Oliveira, and it was De Oliveira. And with that, he's well in the top 5.
Well, let's just have a look at replay of that. It all started just before the corkscrew, really, and then we saw them coming through. This was further back, actually. This was Woodrow and De Oliveira, I think it was, back on turn 6. This here is Felipe and Moreira, and you can see Felipe just ran wide. Moreira trying to run alongside him, and he just kind of turned across the track a little bit to try and gain position, and it just punted Moreira completely off.
Yeah, very unfortunate. We're not happy to see that. That was a great side-by-side. 2 wide through the corner. I was looking forward to at least a full lap of fighting, but things like that can happen. Not easy to race on this level, and with that pace, unfortunately, someone didn't make it.
And luckily for Moreira that there is a decent gravel trap, so it didn't just instantly punt him into the wall and take a lot of damage. That exact spot, there's such a huge runoff that he was certainly able to collect it and get back in there, but absolutely will be seething, no doubt about it. The current points leader, Moreira, back down to 6th place after fighting and looking at that podium position, and it looked like it was his.
Yeah, definitely, he was right there with everyone else, but I'm wondering now, it's also, I think, the first time that we see Karjan being under so much pressure, because in race 1, I don't remember having big fights around his position. He was constantly chasing Hendrickson after De Oliveira Rodriguez got his penalty there. But this time, he has Felipe and Leo all over his rear wing. They want to make a move, they want to get closer. Probably they won't be able to chase Hendrickson though with over 8 seconds.
This is exactly where it all started out. It was a poor exit here, coming through turn 6, up to the corkscrew, and that's where Felipe started to put the pressure on. He was looking to make the move, had to back out, and that brought Moreira in. We may see the same again here, because look at this, Leo up behind him. He may be in a very similar situation where we just saw Moreira getting punted off the track, and at the moment, Karjan, you know, we saw the lap times. Felipe was closing the gap on him in the previous lap. That's a really wide run for Felipe. That's going to cost him a place. And off he goes. Leo up into 3rd place.
Yeah, he just missed the braking zone there. Not in terms of distance, but what went wrong was basically he dropped one of the tires in the dirt onto the side of the curb. And obviously, there's not much traction there, especially if you want to turn in and basically lean on the outside tire. And then he didn't make the turn, lost a ton of time. And with that, Leo finds himself now on a podium spot. Miguel, though, is down by another 8 seconds. So 5th position is quite far away. But let's see if Leo maybe get a run on Karjan. Let's, in terms of lap times, last lap time, 128.2 for Leo and 128.4 for Karjan. But the fastest lap time actually for Leo is 0.3 of a second quicker than Karjan. So maybe he is able to close that gap.
Just to bring it into perspective, obviously Hendrickson running 127.5 seems to be his average lap. I don't know about his fastest lap. His fastest is a 127.3, so over a second faster than these guys at the moment on average. So just absolutely smashing it here, William Hendrickson. The only person that can beat him right now is himself. He's approaching the final corner to go over the line as these guys come round turn 9 and 10 and then up to turn 11 as Hendrickson now just crosses the line.
Yeah, Hendrickson, kind of lonely race, I would say. I mean, he already had 45 minutes of being lonely, most of the time, besides some lapping. Now he is right at that 45-minute mark, so in his head he now knows, I just have to do exactly the same again what I did in race 1, and then I'm all good.
Yeah, and it's ironic that the person he's chasing to lap is actually De Oliveira Rodriguez, who was, you know, running in 2nd place in the last race. Obviously had that crash at the start, had to go in the pits, so I don't know, maybe he started on the drives, maybe that was what it was, start on the drives. Just reading the chat, it does look like Ogrodnikov actually did the same. He started on drives, and I guess he got away with it because he's maximum points at the moment, certainly the top of the table. So definitely interesting, tricky conditions, no doubt about it. Ever changing here at Laguna Seca, and William Hendrickson at the moment, the man of the hour. Everybody else is simply living in his world. Everybody else trying to race it. The main race at the moment is that battle, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Felipe just slowly closing back on the pack. But it is Leo and Karjan now that are racing.
Yeah, and they will get more and more rain, at least according to the forecast, as you can see on the top right. So it doesn't show heavy rain just yet, just a bit more rain, it says. So they will be able to handle that, I think. Especially since there shouldn't be any chance for heavy rain for us in the next 43 minutes. At least I wouldn't expect that anymore. While we see Leo still looking at Karjan. Looking at 2nd position. Where was Leo previously? Let's see.
Well, if you remember, Leo was the one that got knocked off the track in the first sprint race. 45 minute race. He had a great start, started in third place, got himself up to second past De Oliveira, and then got the double shunt came, right? Somebody nudged De Oliveira at the back, which in turn chain reacted into the back of Leo. Leo then got sent spiraling off and went down to 7th place. I think he managed to work his way up to 5th or 6th at the end of the race. So this would be much needed points for him. Was 5th points in the points rankings before the start of today after Monza. Also got a little unlucky in that race, if memory serves me correct. So definitely a strong driver for the region, Leo. So absolutely on it here. And Kane, I tell you what, he's struggling to keep him at bay.
Yeah, it seems like Leo is really quick right now. I mean, in terms of rankings, before going to Laguna Seca, he was in 5th, following closely to De Oliveira Rodriguez and Felipe, with quite a bit of gap, 6 points actually to Borges. Borges DNF'd in race 1, he's not in for race 2, so he's not really anyone that can challenge Leo right now. So that might be his race here. If he can take down Karnin to close up to Hendrickson, and with Morera once again not being close to the top 3, this will actually throw around our standings before the first big endurance race quite a lot.
Yeah, Leo does take a slightly different line of notice into that hairpin than everybody else. He's in a great position to potentially get the switchback, but it's such a huge sort of double curve, effectively, the hairpin is, that, you know, the switchback doesn't really happen because there's always going to be a car blocking the track. So even if you do come out and get great traction, yes, if obviously you can force your opponent to outbrake themselves, which is really his best option right now as he continues to chase. Up to turn 6, you can really make some time up here in turn 6 as you approach up the hill. This time it looks like it's going to be pretty standard. I have noticed Kane has made the odd error there, but they're going to go up the hill, down the corkscrew, and at the moment it is looking pretty good. Both drivers still not really under pressure for Felipe. Felipe's slowly coming back into it, though. You can see him getting closer and closer.
Yeah, I think Felipe will take it a bit easier now, like after what just happened when he dropped the tire into the dirt while trying to enter the next corner. That did not work out quite well for him, and that sent him down to 4th, and he's still there, but I'm not quite sure if he really wants to close now, because there's still the pit stops coming up. So if he has a good lap down there and just tries to stay where he is right now, there might be a better chance to attack a bit later after the pit stops, basically.
Yeah, great racing. That's a wide run from Carnahan, and Leo looking at a little chance here, possibly for the switchback. He's in a really good position to get alongside, and he absolutely makes it work. The switchback just, a little nudge on the side there, had to avoid the damage, and they're going to be side by side through turn 4. Leo's going to be on the outside, but he will have the inside track now. Should have the drive as well to get the race in line, and he will make the position work for him up to 2nd place. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it was just on the better position to have to go out of that corner. Was closer to the normal, ideal, and perfect line through that turn. And with that, he sent Karnin down to 3rd. And with that, he also sent him right in front of Felipe, who closed up now after that little, I would say, bump cost the drivers a few tenths, maybe. That Felipe is that close now. So this fight once again opened up to 3 drivers.
Absolutely, and Felipe will be seeing what's happened and thinking, right, okay, podium position, here we go, because he was already closing the gap on Karnin before he made that mistake. It was him that sort of unforced error, effectively. He outbraked himself and went off on turn 9, so definitely a chance for Felipe to try and gain once again. He had 3rd place in that first 45-minute sprint race as well, so some big points possibly for Gabriel Felipe, who was 3rd in the point standing at the start of today. So 2 potential 3rd places for him would be magnificent and really put pressure onto obviously Moreiro, who, by the way, is back up to 5th place. He's got past Moisen, so he's back up to 5th place now.
Yeah, let's see what comes out of this fight. It's still 38 minutes to go, so plenty of time for exciting racing. Well, the camera actually has to go a long way to find our cars again. Let's see if there's anyone else on the track currently close. I'm quickly checking all the lap times. Woodrow actually closest the gap to Gonzalez again. Let's see, last lap was a 1:29.3. Gonzalez a 1:29.8. And the quickest lap time is actually 0.4 quicker for Ryan. We get to see his second time that great overtaking that we had there. 4 podium positions between Liao and Karnin. That was one of the big highlights in this race. Great setup by Liao. He fought his way through, made sure that there was enough space, and then there was a bit of a nudge, as Lee said earlier, but nothing crazy. And both drivers got out of this very well, but I would say Leo absolutely ice cold there, making sure that he's in full control of that maneuver. It didn't look overly aggressive, looked more like calm and collected.
Absolutely. Just under 40 minutes to go in this race. And pressure continuing, Carnahan behind. Oh no, tragedy. Felipe just pushing a little too hard. He's got himself a 5-second penalty. And that is going to potentially cost him that podium position.
Yeah, that's not what he wants to have. I mean, even with 37 minutes, it's still a lot where he can make things happen. Like 5 seconds in a close field like this, unless you're Hendrickson, basically, where 5 seconds is acceptable. For Felipe, it isn't, because this group around 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th sometimes was always super close, and these 5 seconds that just turned into 10 seconds will hurt him massively when he comes in for the pit stop.
Absolutely. He's going to be kicking himself. And that's just a simple case of, obviously, he saw Leo go past and was just trying a little too hard to try and pressure. But obviously, track cuts is a problem. And you know what? It does make your time up, but it's going to cost you in the end. And got to be careful. Got to be careful. We saw the same thing happen to Oliveira Rodriguez, who, by the way, is slowly clawing his way back into the top 10 after his mistake at the start. So very interested to see how he can gain on this one. Yeah, but let's have a look in terms of Moreda. I want to see, is that going to bring him back into it? Absolutely, as he's getting closer and closer to this racing pack.
But with De Oliveira Rodriguez, he obviously did his mandatory pit stop very early, I think in lap 1 actually, due to whatever happened, probably dry tires. A wrong decision for what we have on track right now, but Flamga and Casper, where was Flamga? Flamga was 8th, I think. 7th, around there. He was well within the top 10, so maybe after the pit stops, we will see... Oh, Camilo going a bit wide there. We will see him being there, like around Gonzalez, around Moisan maybe.
Oh no, going into the corkscrew side by side's always a little dangerous here. Felipe, you've already got that 10-second penalty. Don't make it more, as he just does a little love tap there. Karnhin was sent wide, but Felipe will give the position back.
It was once again very risky there, especially in the corkscrew. No, in the dry, the corkscrew is already terrifying. In the wet, that's a completely different beast, and I'm quite surprised that they went for it. At least they're putting on a good show, I would say, for us, because that was really interesting. Hopping on board with Gabriel Philippe, who is right behind Karnin. That is a podium in front of him. A podium, but yeah, with the 10 seconds, it will be very hard to get that.
So let's have a quick look at the replay here. This was obviously Felipe just turning inside and, you know, side by side into the corkscrew. It's funny, we were talking about it right at the start. Obviously, it's kind of where you get put at the very start of the race when you have to sort of do that warm-up lap. It's just no place to be side by side in that corkscrew. It's not a chicane that's built for it.
Definitely not. Like I said, it is one of those chicanes that give you a full sense of security. Like, you launch an attack there, you feel, oh, I'm in a great spot, I can make this work, but with a big dip into that second apex, and the car even bottoming out and all that, everything can happen in a split second, and then you're lucky if you make it out of that turn, with the car being 100% condition.
Absolutely. Felipe still keeping this chase on. You know, obviously we're talking about the pit stops. We know he's going to be a bit further down. He's got to try and go as quick as he can. And another mistake from Karnin there. This time Felipe will go around the outside. And I got to be honest, I feel Karnin is struggling. Yes, he's going to pull in the pits.
Yep, there we see him going into the pits, and I mean, it's fine. We're roughly at a halfway marker, so it's not super early, I would say, although Flamga and Casper Beltran are the only ones that went for normal pit stop, not counting De Oliveira Rodriguez with the first lap. But I wonder if William Hendrickson will stay out very long once again.
So replay, what we're looking at here, this is De Oliveira having a little go with Gonzalez, I think it is, that he's alongside here. So a little bit of side by side, nice little move in the end. You love to see it. And it's nice racing in the end there to get around the side. I mean, the question is he going to come out on top into turn 11? Should have the inside line, will be able to make it stick.
Yeah, kudos to both drivers there. Respected each other, made sure that everyone had enough space while still fighting hard. That was a bit... I guess that was a lap. Was that... so? Oh no, that was Canio, yeah, when he pulled into the pits. He probably wanted to go in anyway, and then he had to lift the throttle a bit because he couldn't cross over the tarmac due to Felipe being in the way.
Absolutely. Fantastic stuff at the moment, though, for Hendrickson. Absolutely bossing it. Into the pits goes him and Leo. So the front runners now in their first pit stops. Felipe chooses to go on. So we'll see what sort of distance this can play out. He wants to just get his hot laps in as quick as he can, Felipe here. Try and run it down and see. We'll keep our eye on his lap times. A 1:28.6, not a good lap, in all honesty, if he wants to try and get quicker.
It won't be an easy race no matter what. And Hendrickson now in with Leo, as you said, Felipe with that being the leader, but still has that 10-second penalty on him. That doesn't make it easier at all. Let's see where Hendrickson's actually coming out again. There he is. Let's get the helicam maybe. See if anyone passes around. Cameo is still behind and didn't have a pit stop just yet. Yeah, it's so easy for Hendrickson. It's unbelievable how consistent he is on the way here in both races. So far, not a single mistake that we catched, nor one that we saw in any lap times. It's just very, very impressive.
Just watching Felipe to see what he can put in here. He's got a back marker at the moment in front of him, so obviously looking to try and post as quick a laps as he can. He will go around the outside of him, so continuing to do a good lap, but he's really going to have to pump it to try and get that, obviously, that whittle down that 10 seconds timer as much as he can and keep himself inside the top 10. He's got a lot of work to do here.
Definitely. I mean, if he wants to overcome that gap, we will see after the pit, right? He will probably soon pull in for the pit stop, maybe the next 3 laps, I would say. And then we will find out where he stands after those 10 seconds and if the fight is still on for him. There's a lapper that came out right in front.
I mean, a 1:29.1, that's not a quick lap, in all honesty. He's just got past the back marker. Moreira, for example, behind him, who is likely to be taken over by in the pits, is doing 1:28.8. So obviously very wet out there right now because the times are definitely slowing down.
Yeah, we get more and more rain. I mean, we see that on the forecast. So it won't get any easier for our drivers. But it seems like that doesn't really affect Hendrickson. And let's see, De Oliveira Rodriguez. He's now up to 9th already. Camillo is now in the pit, so that could be the next one that loses his position. Let's see. Can get that as an overview as well once he comes around. That's the helicam. Oh, Rodriguez already passing him. So he's really on his way now to make up everything that went absolutely wrong for him in lap 1.
Yeah, I'm just seeing how quick Hendrickson can go at the moment to see if there's any sort of chance in there. There is a couple more in the pits. Felipe and Moreira coming in now, so both that's just about everyone front running in the pits. So Yeah, I'm just keeping my eye on Hendrickson to see how quick a lap he can do. Obviously now on fresh tyres coming out of the pits, etc. To see if he can post a quick lap. It does seem like it's pretty wet. There are some pretty slow times out there at the moment. Maybe just in tired drivers, tired tyres. There's De Oliveira also coming in, so everyone pretty much done. As Hendrickson will go over the line. Let's see what he can do here. Goes through, and it will be a 1:27.6. Yeah, he's back on it.
Definitely. I mean, immediately dialed in and super quick on this track. I mean, is that his home track? Is William Hendrickson maybe a Laguna Seca native? Because he is really, really quick on this track, and at least in this region, in the North American, Latin American region that we race here, he is the dominating driver on Laguna Seca, and there's no question about it.
Carney did a 1:27.8, whereas Leo a 1:28.2. So while he is obviously ahead of him, definitely running a slower pace right now. A little concerning, obviously, what will be the second and third drivers in there. We'll still see where they all shake out after the pit stop. It does look like Felipe obviously is going to be behind Moreira. We kind of expected that. And look who's coming back into it. Igor de Oliveira Rodriguez. He's back involved. Had the pit stop in the first lap and now running in sixth.
Yeah, and that's exactly the reason why you do not quit races early. You never know what happens. Yeah, it was awful for him pitting on the first lap. I'm pretty sure he thought this race was done and dusted, but close to the top 5 and might even get a chance at getting into the top 5. And just because he stayed in the car, stayed focused, gave his absolute best, because everything can happen in the world of racing.
You can see the next 10 minutes the track's getting wetter and wetter, so things are going to get very interesting here. It's already a pretty darn wet track. When Rain Plus is coming along, there's problems brewing. Felipe though is within biting distance of De Oliveira Rodriguez, so we'll see whether he can work that out. Obviously both in terms of points very close to one another. After the first race at Monza, will absolutely be looking to see if they can get better from this. Now remember Flamga actually came in the pits really early on, didn't he? In 8th place. Don't know whether that really paid off for him, in all honesty. Certainly, obviously he's gained because, he's still in 8th now, so in terms of points, but I think it was him and De Oliveira that were close to one another, who's down in 9th at the moment. So I guess maybe from the undercut it's kind of worked. He's got himself a good few seconds ahead.
Yeah, we didn't saw much from him because most of the time he was on his own. Not the same story for Felipe that we see here with De Oliveira Rodriguez. I think Felipe is probably the driver with most fights, most trailing seconds in terms of being in the slipstream of someone else. And now he wants to take down De Oliveira Rodriguez. And we have to keep in mind that De Oliveira Rodriguez, currently the number 24 car here in blue, sits on way older tires, because he pitted in lap 1, and the rain is only getting heavier.
Yeah, they've been, 20 laps old, those tyres, 21 laps old, so absolutely. We'll see how it pays off, because he's almost certainly going to do the next 25 minutes on them as well, and they can do it. These tyres, we forced that pit stop on him. You absolutely could do that hour-long race on one set of tyres. Yes, it would be a bit more trickier, but yeah, it could be a problem. We'll see. Obviously, Felipe looks like he's hot on it, though. He's definitely closed his gap already on De Oliveira Rodriguez. Looks like it's only a matter of time before he gets him past. There's the final pit stop. Moisen also in there as well.
Yeah, it will get interesting. Well, we see Felipe now around the outside before turn 1. And that was flawless, I would say.
Yeah, I was a little worried. I thought he was about to put the brake on the curbstone. He just got onto it wide, and I was like, oh, don't brake now. You're going to lose that back end. But no, in the end, it was absolutely clinical. And there really wasn't much defense either from De Oliveira Rodriguez. In fairness, just let him past.
Yeah, I also think that wasn't really contested here. Didn't went all out. Maybe he knows that he can't keep up with Felipe and was considering if he can just hang in and see if he drags him towards Moreira, but looking at nearly a second of a gap already, I think that's not really on the table right now.
No, absolutely. Hendrickson smashing the race, miles ahead of everyone else. Number 21, Leo, is just coming around turn 11 right now. while our leader is already going around the hairpin. He's around it already, so he's the entirety of the home straight ahead of him right now. Massive gap, and just been dominated throughout this one. What is it? Just 20 seconds almost the gap now. So incredible drive from him. Has been a sublime effort, and it's really down to anyone else. Can they get close to stopping him in terms of points? Moreira absolutely will have a chance. 50 points already from Monza. Currently running in 4th place despite being punted off the track by Felipe earlier on. He's still got himself in a great position. A little bit far afield, I think, from catching Carney here. He has got 23 minutes to do it, but I don't feel he's got it in him. If anything, I would say Felipe is gaining on Moreira here.
Yeah, I think so. I think Felipe is currently very quick. Last time around, 127.7, with Moreira sitting on the 128.0. So it's not much, but it is there. And Felipe's fastest lap time is also quicker than Moreira's fastest lap time. So let's see, with still 22.5 minutes here, Felipe could close that gap. But we're definitely sure now that De Oliveira Rodriguez, even with putting up a great race after his mistake in lap 1, he's not up to the task to be within the top 5 right now, because Felipe has spread that gap already to 3 seconds.
Just looking further down, no, that's Telelias Kimio. I think he's just lapped Beltran. I was just trying to see if they were. I just spotted 2 cars close to one another, but no, it was a simple lap in the end there, so no action. Everybody else is pretty well spaced out around Laguna Seca right now, considering how tight it was effectively in the first race. This is definitely way more spaced out now. Everybody kind of happy in their pace.
Yeah, I think it's also down to the incidents that we had, right? Last race, the incident happened outside of the top 10, and this time we saw them happening well within the top 8 even, or top 5. So that shook our typical fighting group, which is roughly 3rd to 6th or 7th position, up a bit. And now we see them being spread further. They're kind of taking away the fights from us, but race not over just yet.
No, not yet, but definitely a long way to go. 20 minutes in this race. So let's have a look at some of the times that perhaps we can compare and see if anyone is setting anything alight at the moment. Hendriksson's kind of just having his own drive, right? You know, 127.9, consistently under 128s as he goes over the line. Another 127.8 there, so definitely keeping pace with himself all the way along here. There is a back marker coming into it for Leo at the moment. He's going past number 23, that is Mantaporn, down in 12th place. So Leo going past there. Great race from him so far. 127.9s also for him, as he does a 128.0, so just under there. Further down behind him is Carnahan. Carnahan's also done a 127.9, so staying pretty much on pace. He is not that far away in terms of Leo, but obviously did get past earlier on. I think, in all honesty, he's probably quite happy being here. You know, a 2nd and a 3rd place for Carnahan would be fantastic performance for him coming through. Moreira, who got 50 points at Monza, got himself, I think it was a 4th or a 5th in the previous sprint race, 45-minute race, and here in the hour long, he's also in 4th place, looking pretty solid overall in terms of times, 127.8, so also doing a fantastic job. Further down the field, who is slowly gaining, I would say, 127.6s to 127.8, so you can see 0.2 taken out in this lap. This is probably where the challenge may come from, and that is Felipe once again and Moreira. They've already connected with each other once today. With just under 20 minutes left, there's time if Felipe can stay consistent.
Definitely. I mean, he can close that gap, and with 20 minutes, basically a sprint race still open for him, right? So there is a distance where this could work, and Felipe, in the current circumstances and the drive that he has, I'm pretty sure he's up to challenge Moreira and might even take him down. Mantaporn gets sent down by Moisan, maybe into turn 1 here. That's the 70 car up the inside. Moisan, who had a very late pit stop. But it was enough here down into turn 1 to get 12th position of Pavan Mantaporn, who is now down to 13th, and then we see Castro Beltran. That's not the car on the back, by the way. That's a bit further down.
Did Moreira just have a massive error? What's going on? A 1:33 in his last lap, yeah. And a 1:27.8 for Felipe, because look at this. He's right behind him now. He's caught right up. So that gap has just disappeared. Whether Moreira just completely did himself or what, but that was a bad lap, no doubt about it. A 1:30.3, way off the pace, and a couple of seconds gained within a lap has put Felipe right in chomping distance.
Yeah, he's a lot closer now, and I think that will give him additional motivation, obviously, to get close to Moreira. And he knows that there is a chance now, and I think we get the replay of what just happened there to Moreira, and why he lost that much time. Let's see. Over the curb.
Wide.
Yeah, into the dip there.
Was that turn 3, 4?
No, that was last sector. That was here.
That was
out
like
of
turn
corkscrew.
10, 8, yeah.
Yeah, he went above the higher curb on the inside, the sausage curb.
Yeah,
Got bottomed out, and therefore he didn't get it correctly on the exit. Lost a lot of pace there. Not able to really accelerate as hard as he wanted to be. And now he has to face Gabriel Felipe.
Lewis Hamilton going over that sausage curb, getting damage to his car maybe. Who knows? We'll see. Definitely brought problems on himself. And Felipe is absolutely feeling it after seeing that. He wants a piece of this. 4th place up for grabs, 17 minutes left. Maybe redeeming ourselves a little bit and getting a bit of action for ourselves, because this race had started to go a little bit stale.
And we just saw someone going off track around Karnin. I'm not quite sure who that was. Could have been Camilo, but didn't really catch the number there. Well, we see Timothy Flamger in the green. We talked about that green quite a bit early in race 1. And this is the leader since roughly 1.5 hours ago.
Yeah, he's never really been challenged, has he? And why not? You know, the fact is, he consistently is placing under 1:28 in laps. Right, lap after lap after lap after lap. Like nobody else is coming close to the consistency that he's been pacing. And that's why he's just not even being challenged. You know, he's coming around to lap Castro Beltran, I think, for a second time here.
Yeah, like Castro Beltran lost 2 laps already. He did the same in the previous race, so really not really up to running in the rain. Maybe he never practiced in rain. It is completely different. It's not easy. Oh! That was a blue car going up in the background.
That's Oliveira Rodriguez. Yeah, he's off the track. And that looks like a DNF. He's back in the pits. That is De Oliveira Rodriguez. High on the points, out of there.
And that was, I was just about to switch camera, and then I saw him flying around there in a spectacular style, I would say. But
he was running in seventh place, so De Oliveira will gain for that. I know it's tricky because obviously similar names, but De Oliveira will obviously gain a place up to 7th, Woodrow back up to 8th, Gonzalez 9th, and Camilo now into that top 10.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. I mean, after the drive he just had, and after he stayed in the race for so long trying to catch up to everyone. I mean, his race before everyone else went for the pits was very, very lonely. Probably similar to Hendrickson, just not as satisfying, being on the other side of the tower, basically. But now this race doesn't even end in a good result for him, and that's sad to see.
Felipe, though, is gaining. He's still on the back of Moreira. There is a back marker coming up. That is Mantaporn that may well cause problems for them. We'll see as he continues to chase on this. Yes, there. Well, they may pass him. I think they're going to come up on him right into the, potentially into the hairpin. I'm just trying to figure whether they're going to be able to keep up. Probably not the hairpin. It may be further on the corner, which actually may even cause more problems. We'll see how it works out with that back marker. Mantaporn, he has done very well in getting out the way earlier on, as Felipe closes once again and Moreira around that corner.
Yes, this will be interesting when they run up to traffic. It's kind of what we normally see in big endurance multi-class races, right? We have to get through that traffic, and you need to make it work for all parties. And in this case, who is the car in front, though? Is that Mantaporn? That could be the 23.
Yeah.
Who is currently, let's see, Mantaporn is running 1:30 last lap in 12th position. We're talking about Felipe Moreira being 127 and 128. So that's 2 seconds on the single lap.
Oh, right on the corkscrew. Oh dear. He's going to make sure he doesn't get too close here, but he's going to be a lot quicker on the corkscrew, and I knew it's going to slow him down. Moreira connects with him. He may well get caught up in this. Felipe does try and come around there, and that's what I was just wondering. When you see drivers with much quicker times, just especially on Laguna Seca, you know that time is lost in the corkscrew.
Yeah, it's like that was very unfortunate. I'm not quite sure. I didn't saw it from the perspective we had. If Moreira run into the back of Montapone, I would assume
he did,
so.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I've got it on the helicopter cam, and you completely clattered in the back of him. In fairness to him, Montapone was pretty heavy on his brakes, and it just totally caught him off guard. Very lucky that they didn't actually trade places and get caught up in it. Felipe is still looking for that switchback, perhaps, but it does keep him on the back of Moreira. Definitely a little bit closer now, and the pressure consists. I just wonder, I'm just worried, did he take much frontal damage there as he connected on Montapone?
Yeah, it's like, especially the front splitter is the crucial part there. When he ran into a different car. I'm quite sure that was not where we wanted to go. This is where we want to be. And Moreira now really under pressure. And I'm not quite sure. Like, normally we should see front splitter on turn-in, but turn-in looks fine. Looks a bit better than Philippe's actually. And once again, as soon as he gets close to a car, a bit of dirty air, doesn't really work as intended. And then he loses out on the quick kink there on the left-hander. And now being back by over half a second.
Yeah, out of the picture. We'll see whether he can get back in there. Hendrickson, a 128.1. The man is not a machine. He can be slowed down. Maybe just got caught up in some traffic. I don't know. But it finally does do a lap under a 128. So, you know what? 10 minutes to go in this race. So he's looking to just back it off. Meanwhile, Leo certainly doing a fantastically job. His best lap is only a 127.8. He just did a 127.9 a minute ago. He's running in second place. Carnahan is a lot further back. Let's have a look at the replay. This is from in the corkscrew, so you can see just collects in behind. And I'll tell you what, Moreira very lucky he didn't get caught up in that accident more.
Or even getting a penalty. I mean,
yeah.
As much as I can understand for a driver that this difference in speed is not easy to judge, but as with every race, right, on one side, the car in front, since this is not multi-class racing, the car in front should pull off the line and let him pass, but in corkscrew, you make it even worse going offline because you will return to the apex one way or another and cross it, which makes it way more dangerous, right? So he was trying to go for a normal line, and it was on Moreira here. Being the quicker driver, being the better driver currently on Laguna Seca, he should be in control of such situations. We also get report by Race Control that 24, yeah, that was Igor de Oliveira Rodriguez. We saw him quitting previously. That was situation. Tapped the dirt slightly, and with that, missing the entry for the right-hander and throwing away the car, and that was too much for de Oliveira Rodriguez to take it to today. And due to that, unfortunately, he's out of the race now.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a 10-race championship. You know, for a driver like that, still in the top 10, there's points to be had. You know, and he was running in 7th place there. He wouldn't have lost too much because there was quite a lot of space in between him. So very surprised to see him quit the game after that. Very, very disappointed, no doubt about it. But at the moment, the real battle is this one for 4th and 5th. But Felipe has backed off a little.
Yeah, it's like currently he's not in striking distance. Could have been a bit better without that mistake in Sector 2, but he's still there. He's still quick. 128.3 against 128.3 on the last lap. So both drivers similar pace. But I would give the upper hand right now to Philippe, but he's also the driver that we see doing most mistakes when chasing someone.
Oh, there's a Barren mistake. Slowing the corkscrew. Felipe right on him, and that brought him right in there. Very slow on the entry to corkscrew Moreira there, and definitely brought Felipe right back into this. Felipe now seeing a real chance to try and get past.
Yeah, he's definitely back in this. Like, just as we talk about him, that he might make it back, he is there now. And he is in a position to do something here against Moreira. Not into turn 1, though. Not really getting the run here on start, finish straight.
He takes a very different line, if I'm not mistaken. We'll see. Doesn't know. He's going to follow pretty much on behind this time. So take it nice and wide, swing across, and yeah, very similar actually past this time. It has taken some very interesting wide, almost doing the wide out and then the sort of sharp cut in effectively to try and straighten it out into a kink effectively, and then just get his foot on the power quicker. Oh, he just caught the inside curb there, Felipe. That's cost him time.
Yes, it are these small mistakes that keep him away from getting another position, and that was the same on the previous fights. Like, he is quick enough to close the gaps, but currently he's just too error prone basically to really stay close. I mean, he has 7 minutes now, nearly 8 minutes to close the gap once again, but this race doesn't go on forever. If Philippe wants to get 4th position, then it has to happen soon, and it should happen with the next go actually.
Absolutely. Definitely needs to get closer. I mean, time started to go against him, right? He was looking good, you know. A mistake from Moreira brought him right back into it, but 7 minutes to go. He's back to having to grind the laps out, and when they're running at, what, 0.2 of a second difference sometimes, you kind of wonder whether there's enough time left overall. For Moreira, he's happy, you know, getting himself put a potential 2 4th places, considering he got sent off the track by Felipe earlier on, who, let's not forget, Felipe had to serve a 10-second penalty, so he's done a fantastic job to get back to where he is, but maybe just took a bit too much out of his tyres doing it.
Yeah, we'll see if it hurts him massively, but so far, I mean, they will cross, let's see, last lap, Felipe lost half a second. That was obviously the mistake he just did. But on a normal good lap,
it's also very wet. It's also very wet. And to just put it in perspective, Hendrickson a 128.5, Leo Carnahan 128.2. So much wetter track out there right now, which is why they're running a little slower.
Yeah, we had more of a damp track previously with a lot of rain, but now the track is really wet. We see that there's water standing really everywhere, so you have to avoid those puddles and make sure that it works for you. Still a lot of rubber though in the corkscrew.
Felipe definitely so much quicker through corkscrew than Moreira.
Yeah, but keep in mind that's where you risked it last time and got the penalty.
That's true, but clearly has the better entry. Just got to make sure he doesn't cut it.
Yeah, look at that. He's once again right at the rear wing of Moreira. But Moreira has the better exit on the start-finish straight each and every time. Wonder if that's a setup difference. Because it helps him. Like, there's never a chance for Philippe to launch it into turn 1, basically. And that keeps Moreira safe for another lap, I would say. Unless Philippe risks it in corkscrew again.
Look what our race leader is. God, he's miles ahead of them now, almost half a lap ahead of the battle for Moreira and Felipe. Incredible, really. What a drive that William Hendrickson has had here. You know, demolished the opposition. There's no doubt about it. From start to finish, has been untouched and has just run away with what are some incredible laps. You know, lapping so much faster than the rest of the opposition. Clearly has his eye in. You know, not only in the hot laps and the qualifications, but to do it here in the race as well. Unchallenged, unchecked, and he's just blasted the opposition away.
I would still love to see him in a fight, to be honest. I mean, we see that with Felipe, right? He's quick, but at least in the rain, it seems that he tends to do mistakes once he's close. I wonder how Hendrickson would handle this, and maybe we see that in the 2-hour race on Suzuka coming up next. Completely different track once again, completely different circumstances. So let's see how he does there.
Yeah, see if he can handle the obviously endurance. Endurance does bring it into a different race. Yes, it's a 2-hour. We're not talking like a 3 or a 6-hour or 24-hour endurance race. It's obviously it's only one man doing the sit-in, so definitely a different race. So it should be.
And, we could talk about that, right? We're talking about the differences between the tracks. Moreira running at 4th. He blasted it away in Monza. So, sometimes different tracks suit different drivers. Obviously, the weather conditions also do play a big factor. The fact it's absolutely soaked right now. You can see just how tentative some of these guys are on the corners. I was just following Carney in there just to see how he can handle some of the corners. Back to Moreira and Felipe. They're still once again having this challenge. With there's 3 minutes left, I just wonder whether Felipe is going to make one last effort here.
Yeah, it's really a big question now, right? Like, do you want to risk that and go for 4th, or do you say, you know what, points are enough here? I'm fine with 5th. But he definitely gets close to Moreira each and every time. That corkscrew wasn't ideal, though. Lost a bit of time there. Let's see how he's running this through here. Don't touch the dirt. Don't drop a tire. He's close, but then this is the corner where he loses out. Like, he gets close to flip under braking, and then we see every single time that that Moreira has a better exit. Not even the slipstream is enough to bring Felipe in here. No, that won't be enough.
There's a car crash. Flamga, number 8. 8th place, sorry, off the track in a really unusual position. Yeah, up the hill to the corkscrew. So I gotta feel he's gone into turn 6, maybe dipped it, and then spun out and sort of just lost it there. I just saw him off the track, but that's lost him a position. So Gonzalez has gone through up into 8th place, and Camilo is now gaining on him. I don't know what damage he had, but definitely crashed in a really unusual spot.
Yes, up the hill there's just this slight right hand. Don't want to really say corner, but like a bend basically. Then up the hill, so you try to find the breaking point there. That's where these two are going to now. So you see there's a slight right-hander up above, and then slam the brakes to go down the corkscrew. Let's see.
Felipe, he's cut. That is a big cut. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're gaining time there, sure, but, completely cuts across. In fairness, I think he was more in the avoidance, right? Avoiding that he didn't spear into Moreira, so sort of almost had to make himself get off there and hard on the brakes. So just making sure. But now, 125? Where are we? Car number 63. He is, he's actually lapping someone at the moment, so he's miles away. Let's have a look at this replay here. This is going to be obviously what happened with Flamga here, the beautiful green Lamborghini. And yeah, okay.
I lost it on the wet cut. That's it. That's what
Yeah,
happened.
so he just dipped it, right? Just dipped it on it.
I'm not quite sure if he dipped it. It could be enough that the curb is obviously wet, right? Like normally, like for us here at the Nordschleife, for example, we
Hard on
try
the
to
power
avoid
and wet.
curbs when it's raining, right? It is quite slippery, and it's not easy. Like these Lamborghini Huracan GT3s, they have a ton of power. These are GT3 race cars, right? So if you have the wrong traction setting and then the surface gets wetter and wetter, at one point it might not work anymore with the settings you had. I mean, most of these drivers are probably readjusting ABS and TC constantly throughout the race, as well as brake bias.
Yeah, and it's all about obviously making sure you don't just slam your foot on that accelerator on the exit. Sometimes you have to feather it. One last chance through the corkscrew perhaps here. Car number 63 has started his final lap, so 15 seconds on the lap. So these guys, Moreira and Felipe, are going to have one more chance to see whether they can hold position. Felipe definitely within biting distance, but as you mentioned, Moreira generally has had the better exit in turn 11, which is where it's kind of removed Felipe's chances to get past him, so he's having to make up the ground every time. And once again, let's see. Okay, Felipe much better this time, will be closer, so let's see if he can make the most of it here. And what is the final lap?
Yeah, there won't be any other chances for Philippe, so it has to happen now, but he also is well aware of the mistakes he did previously, and he doesn't want to lose a top 5 finish. There are a lot of points here. He is the leader coming into Laguna Seca. He might even be coming out of Laguna Seca, to be honest, of round 2. So you don't want to throw that away. Not for, what, the difference of, 2 to 4 points, something like that, between these positions. So I wonder how aggressive he's really willing to go in the last lap.
it's more how much Moreira is willing to defend, obviously, as the current point leader of 50 points. Race winner, by the way. There we go. William Hendrickson over the line. Congratulations. Wins both the 45 and the hour-long sprint race. Fantastic performance from him. From start to finish, dominated this race, no doubt about it. Leo also in second place. Fantastic comeback for him. Great race for him overall. He just goes over the line. Very happy for him to manage to work it back. Obviously got punted off in the first race of the day. Carnahan also a second podium position for him, a second and a third place in the 2 sprint races today, so really well delivered. And now Felipe isn't going to be able to make it work, so it will be Moreira in 4th and Felipe in 5th.
Yeah, he tried to have a look up inside there on the last turn, but that was too far away. That would have been a textbook dive bomb, I would say, if he would have tried, and he didn't. Good for him. And we see everyone being through besides D'Oliveira, Woodrow there in a new lap. And then Montapon, who is also on a lap still. That's the car that we have on camera with a slight wiggle, basically coming out of the turn. It is very, very wet out there, although it's not getting any wetter. Doesn't matter, because we're done with the race. But we see that rain has an impact and is a challenge in itself, I would say.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. It was a tough race for the drivers out there. You could see it reflected in the lap times. Obviously, when it's so wet, it's not just wet. It was such an absolutely saturated track. You saw the times slowing down for quite a bit there. So they were down to the 1:28.5s towards the end there. So the drivers really having to back off. Obviously, started out so strong.
And we have to give it to Hendrickson, obviously. I know we didn't catch them on camera that often. That happens if you go all on your own. But it just seems like he was so dialed in. I mean, even with the change in conditions, like we saw the track going from damp to wet, Hendrickson never got caught off guard. He was in control. It seems like he was set up for a wet race. He knew what to change in his driving style and how to get away from problems. And he was so quick at the start each and every time that he was never challenged into turn 2.
Absolutely, yeah. Just no pressure on him. No pressure at all. There was a little bit at the start with D'Oliveira Rodriguez. Applied it, but then the cutting came in, right? He got that cutting penalty in the first 45, 10-second penalty. That threw him back into this crazy fight that we had between 4th down to 7th place. He sort of fell right in the middle of the battle coming out of the pits. It was just about the worst spot I think he could have hoped for to come out of into a three-way battle. And that caused him problems. And then, of course, for D'Oliveira Rodriguez in the second race, I got to assume he started on dries. I got to assume he started on dries in a wet race, and he caught him out.
Yeah, it's probably what happened, right? The only other choice would have been if he did not put any fuel in, which is unlikely, because even if he had the fuel of the first race, he could have gone for 45 minutes, which is enough, right? It doesn't really cause any issues, but he had to pit lap 1. He fought back, loved the comeback he had. That was looking good and solid for a top 10 finish, but then that second mistake, it threw him into the wall, and him then DNFing from the race, and with that, not scoring points in race 2. That will hurt in the long run. You said it's a 10 race shootout, basically, or 20 races then. Oh no, the endurance race are only 1 race. So it's a little less than that.
Yeah, I mean, in comparison to the points that we saw for both APAC, obviously, and the European regions, we obviously seen some clear point leaders, right? Whereas for here in the NALA, Moreira was on 50 points at the start of the race. He's just got himself, 2 top 5 finishes. But, Strafaldi, who was second on 36, wasn't even here. Wasn't even in this race. Felipe was on 28 points. He got himself some decent finishes, top 5s, despite the problems he had in there. D'Oliveira Rodriguez, 26 points. He DNF'd. He left. He rage quit the server when he had a crash in 7th place, spun off the track, didn't have any damage, decided, you know what, I'm done. Absolutely went there. And now, obviously, we have William Hendrickson who comes in and smashes it. So 50 points for him. Absolutely delivers on the day. This tournament is wide open for this region.
Definitely. I will be curious to see where Hendrickson places now after he didn't race in Monza due to the connection issues. Have to give it to him for going out of his way, basically finishing the race. to ensure that no one else gets taken out due to his bad connection. But I just got word that we'll have the highlights for race 1 and 2, so the full package of what happened here in round 2 of Lamborghini, the real race in Laguna Seca, US. So we should have a look at that. Take up round 2 before we enter, obviously, to Suzuka for our first endurance race. 2-hour race instead of having 2 different ones. And completely different track on the other side of the world. That's kind of not true. It would be when you're from Germany and you have a map from our side, right? Then it's the US on the left and Japan on the right. It's a bit easier, actually, to go from Laguna Seca going to Japan instead of going all the way across Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to go around the go around the circumnavigate the globe is the word I'm after. That's the one I'm looking for. So, but honestly, Laguna Seca, you know, let's not beat around the bush. It was all about William Hendrickson. Absolutely smashed the competition away. There he is on your screens. Just an 18-year-old that's come through and absolutely demolished everybody in this race, lapping so consistently faster than everyone else.
Yeah, it's not as of any surprise that he's racing for the John Alesi Esports Academy with the pace he just shown, and the pace he probably had for Monza as well, because he qualified very, very high up. I think he qualified as leader, as pole setter actually, or second. He was front row.
First, yeah.
Yeah, in Monza as well. So it is a driver that definitely showed his potential, and he has quite a few good results to his name already, but this could be a big one, right? Going in there with Lamborghini for 2022, being able to race on a real track with the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Evo 2 as well. So I think he's stoked for that, and it seems like he's just laying the ground for that here in Laguna Seca.
Yeah, a very impressive performance. Again, you know, the fact that he did have those internet issues at Monza was definitely a shame, because obviously, you know, clearly showing the the impressiveness. He qualified for 3rd place at Monza, but just wasn't unable to take part in the race on the day. So, you know, whatever internet issues he had, he decided, you know what, this is not going to work. He pulled off the track right at the start as we were doing the warm-up lap, and that's what we noticed, bouncing around all over the place. So, you know, full credit to him to come back as strong as he has, because he's going to be a real championship contender as we move on.
Definitely, and it will heat up now in the region, especially with Morera having not a single podium finish this time at Laguna Seca, and with that giving everyone else the chance to catch up in terms of points, and with that making Suzuka maybe the first big highlight at who's coming out first in our first segment of races and the first endurance race, who will set the tone in the North American, Latin American region after race number 3. Talking about race number 3, that will actually happen on the 25th of July, so mark that down in your calendar. It's in 2 weeks' time, same channel, same time, same team covering it. So if you want to see more racing action from the Lamborghini The Real Race, then definitely follow on social media. Make sure that you have Squadra Corsa on your follow list, then, because then you're up to date and might even get involved. I mean, Lee, you said that everyone can join for the Lamborghini The Real Race. You just have to do the hot laps now on Suzuka, the track up next, and you could even win a Lamborghini headset for just taking part, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's open to everyone. If you are one of the 40 best drivers from your region in terms of times, you can get in there and get into that top 40 shootout. Then you're going to have to compete with the very best to see if you can be in that top 20 to reach the closed race, which will happen on the 25th of July. And that's going to be an endurance race as well, so a 2-hour special for that one.
But this is it with round 2 here from us, which means what's left is thanking obviously our partners, Assetto Corsa Competizione. That's the sim that you just saw on your screen, Intel, Kaspersky and Secret Lab. Thanks for all the support here for the Lamborghini The Real Race Championship. And we will return on the 25th of July with Suzuka. Until then, goodbye.